Chapter 1. The divorce papers. The cold was the first thing she felt. A deep, biting chill that had nothing to do with the water Nathaniel had just drenched her in. It was the cold of defeat. Cora looked at her reflection in the full-length mirror. Hair plastered to her skull, face pale and drawn. She was a pathetic, ridiculous sight. 2 years ago, she had blackmailed Nathaniel Thorne into marrying her. A desperate, foolish gambit born of love. It hadn't sparked some slow-burning romance. It had only cultivated a mutual, simmering loathing. With each passing day, his contempt for her grew. And now she was just tired. She listened to the shower hiss to life in the adjoining bathroom. It was his ritual. After he used her body, he had to scrub himself clean, as if she were some contagion he couldn't wait to wash away. "Nate," she called out, her voice thin, "it's your birthday. I have a gift for you." The gift was a manila envelope. Inside, the divorce papers she had already signed. He loathed this marriage, had wanted out from day one. She had been the one clinging to the wreckage. Not anymore. She didn't have the strength. The bathroom door flew open. Nathaniel stood there, a towel slung low on his hips, his expression a mask of cold fury. "Get your clothes on. Take every last thing that belongs to you and get out," he said, his voice a low growl. "The sight of you makes me sick." A flicker of defiance sparked in her. "But my gift for you? I told you to get out. Are you deaf?" He snapped, his brow furrowed in disgust. "Everything you've touched, I want it gone. It's all contaminated." He kicked the doorstop her hand was resting against and slammed the door shut. The sound echoed in the cavernous master suite. Cora closed her eyes, a bitter, mocking smile on her lips. Through the sound of the rushing water, she knew he couldn't hear her, but she spoke the words anyway, placing the envelope on the polished surface of the coffee table. "The divorce agreement is here," she whispered. "You're free now." Her eyelashes were damp. A single tear traced a path down her cheek, landing silently on the brown paper of the envelope. She closed the door to his room behind her, walked to the guest room, her room, and picked up the suitcase she'd packed weeks ago. Silently, she let herself out of the Hamptons estate. In the back of the Uber, the dam finally broke. The tears came in a hot, shameful torrent. 2 years of marriage. 2 years of his icy glares and calculated humiliations. And still, after everything, she loved him. Desperately. "God, you're pathetic," she cursed herself. Nathaniel emerged from the bathroom, toweling his hair dry. The bedroom was empty, just as he liked it. He sat on the edge of the leather sofa, reaching for a glass of water. A manila envelope sat on the coffee table. 2 small, dark spots marred its surface. Water spots. He scowled. That woman. He had given her one simple instruction: leave nothing of herself behind in his space. She was congenitally incapable of obedience, always finding a new way to disgust him. Without a second glance, he picked up the envelope and dropped it into the wastebasket. It was 2 weeks before Nathaniel even realized Cora was gone for good. He'd come home late from a fundraising gala, drunk and needing an outlet for a fury that had been building all night. He stormed through the main floor, bellowing her name. There was no answer. Finally, one of the housekeepers appeared, trembling. "Mr. Thorne, sir, Miss Cora, she's moved out." Nathaniel froze. "What did you say?" She left, sir," the housekeeper stammered. "Didn't she and you get a divorce? I remember she said she'd sign the papers. That from now on, she had nothing more to do with you." The image of the discarded envelope flashed in his mind. The rage that had been simmering erupted into a volcano. Cora, his foot connected with the solid mahogany coffee table, sending it crashing onto its side. When the hell had he given her permission to leave? That bitch. She always had a way of pissing him off. Chapter 2. I lived to humiliate you. After leaving the divorce papers, Cora took a 2-week business trip, using the time to finalize a deal with a new firm in Africa. She was done with her job in New York. The plan was to relocate, to put an ocean between herself and her past. Nathaniel had a childhood sweetheart, Lydia Sterling. An heiress from an old money family, the woman he was always meant to be with. If Cora hadn't used her leverage, Lydia would be Mrs. Thorne right now. With the divorce, Nate would undoubtedly marry Lydia immediately. Cora couldn't bear to stay and watch them play out their perfect life in the pages of page 6. Better to flee and lick her wounds in private. She flew back to JFK, checked into a hotel, and went straight to her office at Thorne Industries to tender her resignation. The handover would take 15 days. 15 more days. Then, all the love and hate that had defined her life would finally be over. She never expected him to show up at her office. What the hell is this about a divorce agreement? Nathaniel stormed through her door, his eyes blazing with a fury that seemed to consume him. Cora clenched her fists under her desk, keeping her face a mask of calm. Isn't this what you've always wanted? You love Lydia Sterling, Nathaniel. I'm setting you free. What game are you playing now? He didn't believe her. Not for a second. Do you think this little stunt will make me see you differently? Let me tell you something, Cora. The more you pull this shit, the more you disgust me. Then what do you want from me? She shot back, her voice rising. You wanted the divorce I've given in. I signed the papers. What more could you possibly want? I know you can't stand the sight of me. In 15 days, I'm leaving the country. You will never have to see me again. You're leaving the country. A dark, suffocating anger flared in his chest. Did I say you could? Cora, let me make myself clear. For the rest of your life, you are my property. You leave when I grant you permission to leave. She almost laughed. It was absurd. Nathaniel, when have you ever not wanted me gone? Every time we're in the same room, you tell me to get out. What changed? Don't tell me you'll actually miss me. Miss you? Don't make me laugh, he sneered. Lydia's health is delicate. I need you to stay, even if we're divorced. The humiliation was a physical blow, leaving her pale and breathless. You're a monster, Nathaniel. I signed the divorce papers. We are legally done. If you ever speak to me like that again, I'll file a harassment suit. She turned away, pretending to study a file on her desk. Now please get out, or I'm calling security. Cora, he slammed his fist on her desk. The impact made her flinch, but she forced herself to meet his gaze, her expression defiant. Remember what you said today, he snarled. Sooner or later, I'll make you pay for it. He wrenched the door open and stormed out, slamming it behind him. Cora closed her eyes, waiting for her heart to stop pounding. As the adrenaline faded, a dull ache started in her lower abdomen. Was it her period? She'd been so stressed, she'd missed the last 2 cycles. She had the afternoon free. Maybe she should get a checkup. The pain intensified, becoming a sharp, insistent cramp. Unable to focus, she packed up and left early. As she walked to the parking garage, she called her friend Leo Vance, who was a doctor, and made an appointment. Can I come see you now? Dinner. Sure, yeah, you pick the place. I'm on my way. She hung up and reached for her car door. A powerful hand shot out, slamming the door shut. Cora, Nathaniel's voice was a venomous whisper in her ear. The divorce isn't even final, and you're already lining up your next mark. No wonder you were so eager to sign. You had a replacement waiting. You really are a pathetic slut. She had had enough. She spun around and slapped him, hard, across the face. We are divorced. How much longer are you going to humiliate me? The force of the blow snapped his head to the side. When he turned back, his eyes were burning with rage. You dare hit me, he growled, grabbing her by the throat and slamming her against the car. Yes, I live to humiliate you. Watching you squirm like this, it's the only pleasure you've ever given me. Chapter 3, Don't touch me. This was the corporate parking garage. People were coming and going constantly. How could he do this to her here? What are you afraid of? You love men, don't you? He sneered, his body pressing her against the cold metal of the car. When you were trapping me into that marriage bed, I don't remember you telling me to stop. She was trembling, a primal fear seizing her. That was a mistake, she pleaded, her voice cracking. I was wrong. Please don't do this to me. If a colleague saw them, the thought was unbearable. Tell me, Cora, he hissed, his hand tightening on her jaw. Tell me what a worthless slut you are. Say it. Say it. She clamped her mouth shut, refusing. From around the corner, the elevator dinged. Her body went rigid with terror. Finally, she broke. I'm a slut, she sobbed. Nathaniel, please, don't do this, he grunted. A a sound of grim satisfaction, and yanked open the car door, shoving her inside. "No," Cora scrambled to get out. "Nathaniel, we're divorced, can't you just let me go? I'm begging you. Please, just let me go." He pinned her against the seat, his face inches from hers. "You started this. Cora, you were the one who shamelessly came after me. This isn't over until I say it's over, even divorced. You're nothing but a tool for my use." Her eyes burned with unshed tears. She sucked in a breath, forcing them back. 15 more days, she told herself. Just 15 more days and you're gone. It will all be over. She closed her eyes tightly, tears finally escaping, soaking her lashes. The pain was sharp, but in his eyes, it was just part of her sick performance. His phone suddenly buzzed the custom ringtone he'd set for Lydia Sterling. "Lydia, what's wrong?" His tone shifted instantly to one of gentle concern. Then his eyes widened. "You're pregnant?" Cora's body went rigid. She bit down on her lip, tasting blood. "I'm on my way," he said into the phone. He hung up and looked down at her, a cruel smirk on his face. "Well, Cora, your timing is perfect. Lydia's pregnant. It's time for you to vacate the position you stole." He straightened his suit jacket. "And remember my warning. Don't try any tricks like disappearing on me. Lydia's pregnant now. If I need you and you're not there, I'll make what you've endured so far feel like a day at the spa." He got out of the car and strode away without a backward glance. Cora curled into a ball, a wave of agony washing over her. A sudden, warm gush spread beneath her. She looked down. Blood, so much blood. Chapter 4. Miscarriage. The pain in her abdomen was blinding, sapping all her strength. With trembling fingers, she managed to pull out her phone and dial Leo. "Leah, I don't know what's happening, there's so much blood." In just a few seconds, a pool of warm, sticky crimson had formed on the car's leather seat. "Where are you? I'm coming right now." Leo's voice was sharp with alarm. She gave him the address and hung up. 10 minutes later, Leo was there, sprinting across the garage. He scooped her, half drenched in blood, into his arms and carried her to his car, racing to the hospital. The moment they arrived at the ER, a triage nurse took one look and directed them straight to the OB-GYN surgical unit. "This looks like a threatened miscarriage. What on earth happened to you?" Cora's legs were stained red, her face as white as a sheet. "Miscarriage?" The word hit her like a physical blow. As they wheeled her into an exam room, she grabbed the doctor's arm. "Doctor, please," she begged. "You have to save my baby, please." The doctor's expression was grim. "I can't make any promises. First, we need to stop the bleeding." Half an hour later, the doctor returned to a semi-conscious Cora, shaking her head regretfully. "I'm sorry, the uterine contractions were too strong, we couldn't save the baby." Cora closed her eyes, feeling as fragile and hollow as a porcelain doll. The doctor sighed. "And there's something else. This miscarriage was severe. There's a risk of secondary infertility. You need to take your recovery very, very seriously." She was too weak to speak. The doctor left. Leo was waiting just outside the door. After a hushed conversation with the doctor, he came in and gently tucked the blanket around her. "Don't be too hard on yourself," he said softly. "You're still young. There will be other chances to have a family." "I divorced him," Cora whispered. "This baby, it was the only thing I would have had left of my marriage. Now there's nothing." Leo was stunned into silence. He opened his mouth to say something, then closed it, simply taking her hand in his. She was supposed to be recovering, but she was in the middle of her 2-week notice at work. She couldn't afford to be absent. After 2 days in the hospital, she insisted on being discharged. Leo blocked her path. "Are you insane? You can't just ignore your health like this." "I'm fine," Cora said, forcing a weak smile. "Don't worry about me. I really can't miss work right now." "Absolutely not," Leo refused to budge. "You've only been here for 2 days. If you're that worried, why don't you drive me?" she said with a faint grin. She knew he cared, and in her heart, she considered him family. He couldn't win against her stubbornness. He finally relented, helping her out of the room. But at the main staircase of the obstetrics wing, they ran straight into Nathaniel, his arm wrapped protectively around Lydia Sterling. All 4 of them froze. "Cora, what are you doing here?" Nathaniel's face darkened instantly, his gaze turning venomous when he saw Leo by her side. "Get over here. Now." Cora's fingers curled into a fist. A bitter, mocking smile touched her lips. "Mr. Thorne, what exactly is the protocol here? Are you asking the ex-wife to congratulate the mistress? Speaking of which," she turned her gaze to Lydia, "congratulations on your pregnancy. It's a good thing, Nate, and I divorced a few days ago. Otherwise, that little parasite in your womb would have been born a bastard." Lydia's face went white. Her eyes welled up with perfectly formed tears. How could you say that about my child? He's not a parasite, he's Nate's son," a lump formed in Cora's throat. Nate's son, she had been carrying his child, too. A child he had just killed with his own hands. She forced a brittle smile. "Funny you should mention it. I was pregnant with his child, too." Nathaniel's pupils contracted. For a split second, a flicker of something that looked like joy crossed his face. "So that's why she was in the OB-GYN wing." "But I had it taken care of," Cora continued, tilting her chin up, her voice cold and arrogant. "The spawn of a cheating, abusive asshole. I found the idea disgusting." "You what?" Nathaniel lunged forward, grabbing her arm. "You got rid of our child." Chapter 5. "I will have my revenge." Cora ripped her arm from his grasp. "What if I did? Nathaniel, need I remind you, we are divorced. Was I supposed to give birth to an illegitimate child?" "You're the illegitimate one." Nathaniel's eyes narrowed to slits. "That was my child. You had no right to get rid of it without my permission." Cora looked him straight in the eye. "But I already did. What are you going to do about it now, Nathaniel? Kill me?" Her defiance sent him into a blind rage. He raised his hand to strike her. "Mr. Thorne," Leo instantly stepped between them. "I suggest you control yourself. This is a hospital. There are cameras everywhere." "Nate," Lydia rushed forward, grabbing his arm. "Darling, calm down. Cora is career-focused. I heard she's moving abroad for a big promotion. It makes sense she wouldn't want a child right now. It's okay. I'm pregnant. I'll give you a child." Cora had no desire to watch their nauseating display. She turned to leave, Leo right behind her. "Cora, if you walk out of here today, I swear you will regret it," Nathaniel threatened, his voice low and dangerous. She stopped, turned back, a tragic smile on her face. "Is that all you have, Nathaniel? Violence and threats? I must have been blind to have ever seen anything in a monster like you." With that, she walked away, disappearing down the stairwell. Nathaniel stood frozen, his expression thunderous. "Nate, you need to calm down." "This isn't like you," Lydia said softly, her eyes wide with worry. "If you care about her this much, then maybe I should be the one to leave." "Who said I care about her?" he snapped. Lydia looked shocked and hurt. Nathaniel scowled and took a deep breath, turning away. He had been acting strangely lately, especially when he heard she was leaving. It was like a fire in his gut, making him lash out. "Cora got rid of my child behind my back," he said, his voice cold as ice. "I will have my revenge for that. You have a checkup, right? Go on, I need to go back to the office." "You're not staying with me? Next time." He left without another word. Lydia stood alone in the hallway, the gentle look on her face replaced by a vicious, toxic snarl. The way he was acting, he was clearly developing feelings for Cora. That bitch was trying to steal what was rightfully hers. She was going to die for that. The miscarriage had left Cora physically weak. Every afternoon, she'd get dizzy spells from low blood sugar and have to constantly sip on Gatorade. The company, aware of her health issues, expedited her resignation process. She had 1 day left. One more day, and she would be free. But then, management suddenly changed their tune. A contract she'd negotiated had supposedly run into problems. She was told she couldn't leave until it was resolved. Cora knew someone was pulling strings behind the scenes, but she had no choice but to deal with it. The meeting was at a private club. Fearing trouble, she called Leo before going in, telling him where she'd be. Then she found the private room. Inside, 2 sleazy-looking men were waiting. The moment she entered, they tried to force a drink on her. "Drink this half bottle of whiskey, and we'll forget all about the contract problems." Cora could hold her liquor, but she was afraid the drink was drugged. Still, she was desperate to leave the country. She pulled out a release agreement she'd prepared. "You sign this while I drink. No signature, no drink." The two men exchanged a look and agreed. Cora put the bottle to her lips as they scribbled their signatures. The moment the liquor hit her stomach, the room started to spin. It was drugged. "He beautiful, to be honest with you. Someone paid us to keep you company tonight," one of the men said, grabbing her hand. Cora fought to stay conscious, trying to wrench her hand from his slimy grasp. Suddenly, the door to the room was kicked open with tremendous force. Chapter 6. Don't touch me. Cora fought to stay conscious, trying to wrench her hand from his slimy grasp. Suddenly, the door to the room was kicked open with tremendous force. Leo stormed in. "What do you think you're doing?" The two men instantly let go of her, their faces paling. Cora's legs gave out. She couldn't stand. She reached a hand out to Leo. "Leo," she pleaded, "I can't stand." "Help me," he swept her into his arms. Turning to the two men, he said in a dangerously low voice, "I've already called the police. They'll be here any minute. Neither of you is going anywhere." He carried her out of the room, his pace urgent. Cora curled against his chest, her body flushed and weak. The alcohol and the drug were warring inside her, making her dizzy and disoriented. The world warped around her. In her haze, Leo's face morphed into Nathaniel's. "Nate," she murmured, rubbing her face against his chest like a child. Leo's expression tightened. "Just hold on, I'm taking you to the hospital." "No hospital," she mumbled, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I hate the smell of hospitals." He reached the front of the club, carefully setting her down but keeping a steadying arm around her as he fumbled for his car keys. "You have to go to the hospital, Cora. Otherwise, I don't want to." She clung to him, her voice pleading. "Nate, can we just go home? Please, I want to go home." A shadow passed over Leo's eyes. The hand that had been politely supporting her back tightened, pulling her firmly against him. "I'll take you home," he said, his voice low. She buried her face in his shoulder and smiled faintly. "Okay," Leo leaned in and kissed her forehead. Cora closed her eyes, a sweet smile on her lips. From Nathaniel's perspective, sitting in his car across the street, they looked more intimate than any lovers. His knuckles turned white as he gripped the steering wheel. He couldn't take it anymore. He threw open his car door and strode towards them. Cora, he grabbed her by the wrist, violently yanking her away from Leo. The sudden pain jolted her back to a semblance of lucidity. She looked up and saw Nathaniel's face, twisted into a mask of pure rage. "Nathaniel," she stammered, trying to pull back. "Let me go." His grip tightened, feeling as though it would snap her delicate wrist in two. "It seems you really don't take my warnings seriously, do you, Cora?" "Nathaniel, let her go." Leo lunged forward to get her back. Nathaniel wrapped an arm around Cora's waist, pulling her flush against him, and threw a punch that sent Leo staggering to the ground. Then he dragged her toward his car. "Nathaniel, let her go." Leo scrambled to his feet, stumbling after them. Nathaniel shoved Cora into the passenger seat, turned, and landed another brutal punch on Leo. He got in, started the engine, and peeled away from the curb, leaving Leo on the pavement. Cora's brief moment of clarity vanished, her mind sinking back into the drug-induced fog. The car sped through the city, finally pulling into the driveway of the Hamptons estate. He dragged her out of the car and up to the master bathroom. Shhlick, he twisted the knob on the shower. An icy torrent rained down on her, shocking her back to full, shivering consciousness. She was soaked to the bone. He held her under the spray, washing her body as if he were scrubbing filth from an object. "Get yourself clean," he snarled. "Wash off his touch." Cora threw up her hands to shield her face. "Nathaniel, what are you doing?" Her fingers brushed against a glass bottle of hand soap on the vanity. Without thinking, she grabbed it and smashed it over his head. Blood bloomed instantly. He released her, his hand flying to the gash on his forehead. Cora stared at him, her eyes filled with hatred. "Nathaniel, can you just stop being so disgusting?" He looked at the blood on his fingertips, then at the undisguised revulsion in her eyes. Any shred of reason he had left was consumed by fury. "Cora," he hissed, "you're asking for death." Chapter 7. Unless I die, he filled the bathtub with ice-cold water and threw her in, holding her under with a ferocity that promised to drown her. Cora screamed and thrashed, water splashing everywhere, soaking the floor and his clothes. They were both a mess of wild, desperate rage. Her body, already weak, quickly gave out. Her struggles softened until she was limp, allowing him to push her head completely beneath the frigid water. Her hair fanned out around her like a dark halo. She slumped against the side of the tub. It was as if he suddenly snapped back to reality. He yanked her out of the water, her body sputtering and coughing, her face a blotchy red. "Are you okay?" he asked, his hands hovering over her, his expression uncharacteristically lost. He opened his mouth, wanting to say he was sorry, but the words caught in his throat. He was Nathaniel Thorne. He didn't apologize to anyone. Cora caught her breath and slapped him hard. "Don't touch me," she struggled away, using the wall to pull herself to her feet, her eyes red from the water and tears. "Nathaniel, you're not human." His fingers twitched. He stared at her, drenched and defiant, and clamped his jaw shut. She pushed past him, heading for the door. He grabbed her instantly. "You are not leaving this house," Cora shook him off. "Unless I die here," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "I will never, ever be alone with you again." "Don't think I won't do it, Cora." The anger he'd been trying to suppress flared back to life. "Why wouldn't you? You just tried to drown me," she said with a cold laugh. "So let me make it clear, Nathaniel. Either you kill me right now, or from this day forward we are dead to each other." His fists clenched. "Fine. Then let me make something clear to you. If you walk out that door today, I will make sure that every day for the rest of your life is a living hell." A tragic smile touched her lips. "I've already been living in it." She dragged her broken body out of the room and out of the house. Watching her leave, Nathaniel destroyed everything in the master bedroom. "You've got guts, Cora," he roared into the wreckage. "You've got guts." After leaving the estate, Cora collapsed with a high fever and was hospitalized. Meanwhile, her company came up with another excuse, claiming there were issues with her portfolio, and refused to process her resignation or release her personnel file. Without that file, she couldn't officially start at any other company. Lying in her hospital bed, listening to the HR representative on the phone, she simply hung up. She knew it was Nathaniel, deliberately tormenting her. She could never win against him. She had never won. She curled up in the bed, a suffocating weight on her chest that she couldn't release. All she could do was endure it. Through it all, Lydia was the only one there, taking care of her. Once she recovered, Cora had no choice but to go back to the company and deal with the so-called contract issues. This time, they told her it was a problem with a factory. If she sorted it out, they promised, they would finally let her go. She made the head of her department sign a written guarantee, then drove out to the factory. It was in a remote, industrial part of the suburbs. By the time she arrived, it was dusk. She parked her car and got out, frowning. The factory looked abandoned. The gate was littered with trash and rusted tools. It stood wide open, and inside, a flickering light danced. Cora stood at the entrance, about to call her office to reconfirm the address, when a weak cry for help came from within. "Help, anyone, help me!" It was a woman's voice, faint and frail. Frowning, her instinct to help overriding her caution, Cora turned on her phone's flashlight and stepped carefully inside. A few candles cast long, dancing shadows. In a corner, a woman was bound and gagged, lying in a pool of blood, her back to Cora. The cries were coming from her. "Are you okay?" Cora moved closer, then froze. She could see the woman's face now. It was Lydia Sterling. Chapter 8. The baby is gone. What was Lydia doing here? And covered in blood? Had she miscarried too? Instinctively, Cora rushed to her side, helping her sit up. "Are you all right? I'll call an ambulance right now." Lydia just cried, shaking her head and mumbling something incoherent. "What did you say?" Cora leaned in closer to hear. "Let me go, please," was all she could make out. Before Cora could react, two men burst into the factory. "Miss Cora," one of them said, "we've got her tied up just like you asked. Now, how about our money?" "What are you talking about?" Cora frowned. "I don't know you," the man laughed. "Come on, Miss Cora, don't play dumb. One minute you're our boss, the next you don't know us. You're a better actress than we thought. I really don't know you. Lydia, a frantic shout echoed from outside. It was Nathaniel. Cora looked at Lydia, bleeding and helpless, and suddenly understood. This was a trap, a setup designed to frame her. The previously weak Lydia suddenly found a burst of strength, shoving Cora away and crawling towards the entrance. "Nate, help me." "Bitch, don't even think about running," one of the men yelled, grabbing Lydia. He turned to Cora. "Miss Cora, should we take care of this woman for you?" Before Cora could answer, the other man chimed in. "Of course we should. Miss Cora paid us to make sure it was one body, two graves, right?" He pulled out a dagger. "What are you doing?" "Let her go," Nathaniel charged in, kicking the knife out of the man's hand. Lydia struggled into his arms, sobbing. "Nate, my baby." The white pants she was wearing were soaked in scarlet. Nathaniel's jaw clenched. He held her tight, his gaze lifting to fix on Cora with pure venom. "Cora," he snarled, "is this your idea of revenge?" He didn't ask what happened. He didn't ask for an explanation. His first instinct was to blame her. Cora just stared back at them, feeling no desire to defend herself. It was pointless. The wail of police sirens grew closer. A squad of officers rushed in, quickly subduing the two thugs and Cora. Lydia was rushed to the hospital. Cora, who should have been taken to the station for questioning, was also brought to the hospital by Nathaniel. He had her handcuffed to the leg of a chair outside the emergency operating room. The chair was so low she couldn't even squat. She was forced to kneel on the cold, hard floor. "Mr. Thorne, we have the kidnapper's statements," his assistant said, approaching with a file. "They both testify that Cora orchestrated the entire thing. We have phone records as evidence. We checked with the carrier. Miss Cora did indeed have 4 calls with the kidnappers." Cora closed her eyes, her heart turning to ice. Nathaniel's gaze was glacial. "Cora, do you have anything to say for yourself?" She looked up, a cold smile on her lips. "Nathaniel, you've already made up your mind. Why bother asking?" His face was a mask of fury. "So, you admit it?" Cora didn't answer, turning her head to stare at the grimy wall, a picture of indifference. The operating room doors swung open. "Doctor, how is Lydia?" Nathaniel asked immediately, his voice tight with anxiety. The doctor shook his head grimly. "She suffered a severe beating, particularly to her abdomen. The baby is gone. And I'm afraid she's unlikely to be able to conceive again." Nathaniel's brow twitched, but his emotional reaction was surprisingly muted. "The patient is awake. You can go in and see her." Nathaniel turned his gaze back to Cora, still kneeling on the floor. "I will deal with you later." Cora kept her eyes downcast, her heart already a wasteland of ash. She was prepared for the worst. A prison sentence. But even prison was better than this being constantly under Nathaniel's control, constantly a pawn in Lydia's cruel games. Chapter 9. Blame Yourself. Nathaniel entered the hospital room. The moment Lydia saw him, she burst into tears. "Nate, our baby, is gone," she sobbed, burying her face in her hands. "It hurts so much. That was our child, and he's just gone." "It's okay," Nathaniel said softly, placing a hand on her back. Her crying grew more frantic. "How is it okay? I can't have children anymore. I'll never have a child of my own. We can adopt," he offered quietly. Lydia shook her head violently. "I wanted to bear your child. Nate, I only ever wanted to have your children. And now I can't. The position of your wife isn't mine. And now your child will never be mine either." "I'll marry you," Nathaniel said, his brow furrowed. "I promised you I would." He had made that promise the night he got drunk and, in his stupor, had supposedly slept with her. He'd sworn he would divorce Cora and marry Lydia. "Then when will you marry me?" she asked, grabbing his hand, her voice desperate. "As soon as you've recovered, we'll get the license." "Okay," Lydia breathed, satisfied. She leaned into his embrace, closing her eyes to hide the triumphant smirk. After a moment, she resumed her performance. "I was so scared when they took me. I never imagined Cora could be so vicious. She said she wanted my baby to join hers in death. And she said, it was all your fault." Nathaniel's expression darkened. Lydia continued. "She said, Because you wouldn't let her and Leo Vance be together, because you wouldn't let her resign and leave the country. If she was going to be miserable, then everyone was going to be miserable with her. Is that her reason for kidnapping you? Nathaniel's voice was dangerously low. Because he was standing in the way of her and Leo. I don't know, Lydia said, feigning innocence. That's just what I heard her say. Her plan was perfect, a 3-for-1. The baby in her womb wasn't his anyway. She'd sourced it from someone else. Nathaniel had been blackout drunk that night, completely incapable. She was going to get rid of it eventually. Now, sacrificing a bastard child had secured her a marriage proposal from Nathaniel and completely destroyed Cora's image in his eyes. Nathaniel stayed until Lydia fell asleep, then left the room. Cora had been kneeling on the hard floor for hours. Her legs were numb, her body aching. Cora, I'm not going to press charges for the kidnapping, Nathaniel said, standing over her, his voice devoid of warmth. I have another way to punish you. He turned to his assistant. Get Leo Vance over here. Nathaniel, do whatever you want to me, but leave innocent people out of this, Cora panicked. She knew what he was capable of: cold, ruthless cruelty. Leo would be torn to pieces. Was the baby in Lydia's womb not innocent? I didn't kidnap her, and I certainly didn't hurt her child, Cora explained frantically. If you don't believe me, then investigate properly. Her kidnapping had nothing to do with me, Nathaniel. With your resources, you could find out the truth in an instant. He looked down at her, his eyes like chips of ice. Cora, you already admitted it. Don't you think it's a little late for denials? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Tears streamed down her face. Nathaniel, do whatever you want to me, cut me into 1,000 pieces. I won't fight back. But Leo, is there anyone else in the world to you but Leo Vance? Cora, are you that obsessed with him? Because he's the only person who has ever been kind to me, she screamed through her tears. Nathaniel, I am on my knees begging you, let him go. He has nothing to do with this. Nathaniel's face was a mask of cold fury. He slowly crouched down, his eyes burning with a terrifying light. How does he have nothing to do with it when he has everything to do with you? Cora, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself. You're the one who dragged him into this. Chapter 10. Go with me. They took Cora to a secluded, empty hospital room. 2 of Nathaniel's bodyguards tied her securely to a chair. Nathaniel sat on a sofa across from her, chains smoking in silence. The room filled with a choking haze. Half an hour later, they brought Leo in. Cora, the moment Leo saw her tied up, his face flushed with anger. This is illegal detention. I can have you all arrested. Nathaniel lit another cigarette, the picture of aristocratic calm. Cora kidnapped Lydia and caused her to miscarry. The evidence is irrefutable. If you want to call the police, be my guest. That's impossible. Cora would never do something like that. Unlike Nathaniel, Leo's faith in her was absolute. Nathaniel let out a cold laugh. We have witnesses and physical evidence. She confessed herself. Leo stared at Cora in shock, still unable to believe it. Cora just shook her head, too weary to explain. Nathaniel, this is between you and me. Settle it with me. Don't hurt Leo. The cigarette between Nathaniel's fingers buckled under the pressure. Fine, he said. I won't touch him. Since you can't seem to stop talking about him, let's see just how deep this bond of yours really is. He flicked his finger. A bodyguard immediately drew a dagger, grabbed Cora's right hand, and pressed the blade against her delicate wrist. Nathaniel stared at Leo. You have 2 choices. 1, walk out of this room. 2, take her place and destroy your own right hand. Leo was a surgeon. His hands were his life. Leo, don't mind me, just go, Cora shouted. Go. The blade bit into her skin, a thin line of red welling up. Leo's eyes darkened. Cora, how could I possibly leave you like this? He reached for a knife on the coffee table. Leo, you can't ruin your hand for me. Cora's eyes were red with desperation. She struggled against her bonds, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. Do you hear me? Go, leave me alone. Leo didn't look at her. He looked at Nathaniel. If I do this, you'll let Cora go? Nathaniel's face was grim. Yes, you destroy your hand and I'll untie her immediately. Fine, Leo said. The sickening sound of blade cutting through flesh filled the room, followed by the drip, drip, drip of blood onto the floor. A crimson pool began to form. Cora closed her eyes, tears of despair sliding down her cheeks. The sound of each drop was like a hammer blow to her heart. This was her fault. She had ruined Leo. Clatter. The knife fell to the floor. Leo clutched his bleeding arm, gasping. "I've done what you asked." "Let her go." Nathaniel nodded curtly to his bodyguard. The ropes were untied. "Leo, are you okay?" Cora rushed to his side, finally breaking down into sobs. "Why did you do it? Your hand is ruined. How will you ever operate again?" "It doesn't matter. Come with me." Leo took her hand with his uninjured one and pulled her towards the door. "Cora!" Nathaniel's voice came from behind them. He was staring out the window, his profile colder and more terrifying than ever. "Are you really sure you want to walk out of this room?" Cora's steps faltered. "Cora," Leo squeezed her hand. "I'll take you far away from here. Just come with me." She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. She couldn't go with him. What Nathaniel had just done was a warning. If she left with Leo today, tomorrow Leo would be a corpse. He was the head of Thorn Industries, a man who could make anyone disappear. "Leo, your hand, I'm so sorry." She pulled her hand free and pushed him out of the room. "Go. And from now on, don't ever come looking for me again." "Cora," she slammed the door shut, then turned to face Nathaniel, her expression as cold as death. Chapter 11. "Pay her back, what do you want?" Cora asked, her voice flat. Nathaniel stubbed out his cigarette. "Lydia can no longer have children because of what you did," he said coldly. "I want you to have a child to pay her back." Cora laughed, a hollow, broken sound. "Nathaniel, do you hear yourself? Do you think a child is some kind of toy? A replacement part with no feelings?" His expression turned glacial. "Have you already forgotten the warning I just gave you?" Cora fell silent. "Or have you forgotten about your grandmother living out her quiet retirement upstate?" he added, his voice laced with venom. "Nathaniel, don't you dare touch her," panic seized her. Her parents had died young, her grandmother had raised her. The old woman was her only family. That depends entirely on your performance. Cora's fists clenched, but she forced her tone to soften. "After my miscarriage, the doctor said I might be infertile. I can't give you the child you want." Nathaniel shot to his feet, grabbing her by the chin. "You can't, or you won't. You will. I'm giving you 2 months. If you're not pregnant by then, I'm bringing your grandmother here to suffer in your place." "No," Cora grabbed his arm, her last shred of defiance crumbling. "I'll do it. I'll die trying, but I'll give you a child." "And another thing," Nathaniel said, tilting her pale face up to his. "From now on, you will be obedient. If you displease me, I'll have to find someone to take my anger out on." "I'll be obedient," she whispered. "Just please don't hurt anyone else I care about." His fingers tightened, bruising the delicate skin of her jaw. "And never, ever mention the name Leo Vance in front of me again. Every time you say it, I'll make you pay." Cora lowered her gaze in submission. "I understand." She was still wearing her work clothes, a semi-sheer white blouse over a camisole, with a black pencil skirt that hugged her slender figure. Nathaniel's gaze darkened. "Take off your clothes." Her body went rigid. After a moment's hesitation, she gritted her teeth and stripped off her jacket and skirt. He frowned, disgusted by her lifeless, dead-eyed compliance. The fire he'd felt moments ago was gone. He shoved her away and lit another cigarette, a familiar, nameless agitation churning inside him. A soft knock came at the door. "Mr. Thorne," his assistant said from the hallway, "Miss Sterling is awake and asking for you." "I'll be right there." Grateful for the distraction, Nathaniel strode out of the room. "Take her back to the estate," he ordered the bodyguards at the door, "and watch her." Cora was returned to the cage, back in the guest room she had slept in for 2 years. The familiar, empty space felt colder and more alien than ever. That night, he came to her. It was the same as always. He looked at her with cold eyes, his mouth filled with the usual litany of insults and degradations. Cora closed her eyes, unwilling to respond. This, of course, enraged him further. He forced her chin up, making her look at him. "Don't push me, Cora. If you continue to be this difficult, you'll be the one to bear the consequences." Chapter 12. Divorced after that night, Nathaniel disappeared for a week. The entire staff at the estate was replaced with 2 Filipino housekeepers who spoke no English. Their job was to attend to Cora's daily needs and to ensure she never left the property. She had, in effect, become a prisoner. Her new job in Africa was a pipe dream. Until she produced a child for him, she was never getting out. After a week, he started returning frequently, each visit a new torment. On the rare occasion he was in a good mood, he would allow her a supervised call with her grandmother. Another 2 weeks passed. Cora's belly remained flat. Sometimes, Nathaniel would stare at her stomach with a dark, dangerous look that made her blood run cold. She was truly terrified of him now, terrified of what he might do to her elderly grandmother. After much deliberation, she requested a visit to the doctor for a fertility checkup. To her surprise, he agreed to accompany her. After a battery of tests, the doctor declared her perfectly healthy. With a bit of effort, pregnancy was only a matter of time. Cora was still worried. "But I had a miscarriage before, and the doctor said the complications were severe." "Nonsense," the doctor said, waving a hand dismissively. "You seem to be in excellent health. Perhaps you've been taking good care of yourself recently. Keep it up, and you'll conceive in no time." Taking good care of herself. The 2 new housekeepers were indeed meticulous in their care. Had her body truly healed? As they were leaving the doctor's office, they saw Lydia Sterling standing in the hallway. "Nate," Lydia's eyes immediately reddened, her expression one of perfect, tragic beauty. "What are you doing here?" Nathaniel frowned slightly, but reflexively went to her, putting an arm around her shoulder. "Why are you crying? Who upset you?" Lydia's lashes fluttered, 2 perfect tears rolling down her cheeks. "You promised me, you said that when I was better you would marry me, but now you—" Her tear-filled gaze shifted to Cora. "Are you leaving me?" "Of course not," Nathaniel said, gently wiping away her tears. "I've just been busy." "We'll get to it. I want it today," Lydia interrupted, her tone unyielding. "I can't wait another day. Nate, if you don't want to marry me anymore, just tell me. I'll leave right now. I won't bother you." "I never said I didn't want to marry you," he said, then paused, his eyes flicking to Cora's face. Cora stared at the floor, her expression a mask of indifference. That familiar, nameless irritation flared up in him again. "Fine," he snapped. "We'll get married today. Cora, go home and get your marriage certificate. We're going to the courthouse right now to file for divorce." He watched her face intently as he spoke. He remembered how she used to fight the idea of divorce as if it were a death sentence. "Okay," she said without a flicker of hesitation. She even opened her purse and pulled out the document. "I have it with me. We can go right now." Nathaniel's jaw clenched. "I see you've been prepared for this for a long time, Cora." She remained placid, her eyes downcast, neither confirming nor denying. "Good," he snarled. "I've had enough of this disgusting marriage anyway." The 3 of them drove from the hospital straight to the courthouse. Cora was the first to sign the divorce papers, her handwriting neat and steady. Nathaniel, on the other hand, signed with such force that he nearly tore the page. With the papers signed and filed, their marriage of just over 2 years was officially, finally, over. Chapter 13. I'll be good after the courthouse. Cora was driven back to the estate. Nathaniel, she assumed, had gone with Lydia to get their own marriage license. Cora collapsed onto the bed in her room, curling into a ball and staring out at the bright, endless sky. She felt hollow. Once she got pregnant, once she gave birth to the child, would it really all be over? Lydia was a viper. She would never be kind to Cora's child. In the end, Cora would never be able to leave. She would be tethered to Nathaniel for the rest of her life. What was the point? In a daze, she walked out onto the balcony. She looked down the 3 stories to the stone patio below. Death, it seemed so simple. Only death could truly end it all, but her grandmother. The only person she couldn't bear to leave behind. Nathaniel didn't return for 3 days. On the 4th day, he walked into her room. The first words out of his mouth were, "I'm leaving with Lydia for our honeymoon." Cora's heart tightened. She tried to smile, to offer him congratulations like a normal person, but her face felt stiff and foreign. She couldn't. After a long moment, she managed a quiet, "Is that so?" He stared at her for a long time. "Do you have anything you want to say to me?" Her fingers clenched and unclenched. Seconds, or maybe an eternity, passed. Then finally, a smile bloomed on her face. She walked towards him, wrapped her arms around his neck, and kissed him. This time, they were together from dusk until deep into the night. The sky outside was a canopy of stars, the moonlight soft and bright. Nathaniel held her from behind, her back pressed against his chest. Staring out at the night, Cora asked softly, "Can I go upstate to see my grandmother? You'll be on your honeymoon anyway, and I'll be here all alone in the house." The house. The word clearly pleased him. He closed his eyes, relaxed. "Fine," he said easily. "I'll have my men drive you." Cora turned in his arms and hugged him. "Thank you," she whispered. He kissed the top of her head. "As long as you're obedient, I'll consider giving you whatever you want. Understand?" Her eyes were vacant. "I understand. I'll be good." The next morning, Nathaniel was leaving for the airport. Cora packed his suitcase for him. He simply praised her for being so sensible, never once considering what it must have felt like for her to do it. After he left, Cora was escorted by 2 bodyguards upstate. She found her grandmother's small house without trouble. But when she pushed open the door, the house was empty. A knot of panic tightened in her chest. She rushed to the neighbor's house. "Cora, you're back. Your grandmother had a bad fall 2 weeks ago. She's been in the hospital ever since." The world tilted. Cora turned and ran, sprinting all the way to the local hospital. After asking at the front desk, she finally found her grandmother in a noisy, crowded 4-person ward, an IV drip in her arm. She was asleep, her head turned to the side. Cora's eyes instantly filled with tears. She knelt by the bed, taking her grandmother's cold hand in hers, and began to cry. "Are you her family?" a nurse asked, making her rounds. "Yes, I am. How is she?" The nurse's expression was stern. "Her situation is complicated. You should talk to the doctor. This patient has been here for 2 weeks with no one to look after her. She's had to eat and use the restroom all by herself. It's pitiful. You're her family. Why didn't you come sooner? At her age, anything can happen at any moment." Every word was a knife in Cora's heart. She bit her lip, shame and grief washing over her, unable to say anything as tears streamed down her face. After the nurse left, Cora found her grandmother's doctor. She was admitted after a fall 2 weeks ago. During our examination, we discovered she has late-stage bile duct cancer. Chapter 14, Pregnant Again Terminal Cancer. The world went black around the edges. Cora gripped the doctor's desk to steady herself, her voice a choked whisper. Is it too late for treatment?" The doctor was gentle. "You could try transferring her to a larger, more specialized hospital. But your grandmother is 70 years old. Her body might not be able to handle it. In any case, you should arrange for a transfer as soon as possible." Cora bit down hard on her lip to stop it from trembling. With shaky hands, she began making calls, arranging for the transfer. When she finally returned to the ward, her grandmother was awake. Seeing Cora, a warm, loving smile spread across her face. "Cora, dear." The tears Cora had just managed to suppress came rushing back. She knelt by the bed again. "I'm so sorry, Grandma. I'm so sorry it took me so long to come back." "It's all right, dear. I knew you were busy. I didn't want to worry you," her grandmother said, her rough fingers wiping the tears from Cora's cheeks. "Don't cry, Cora. Grandma's fine." Her grandmother's kindness broke her completely. Cora hugged the frail woman and wept. After the transfer, a more thorough examination yielded the same devastating diagnosis: late-stage bile duct cancer. Given her age, there was little hope of a cure, and surgery was out of the question. Clutching the report, Cora sank to the floor in the hospital corridor and cried for a long, long time. After that, her grandmother's health declined rapidly. She spiked a fever of 104 degrees every few days. Her skin turned a waxy yellow, and she was too weak to even sip broth. Cora knew her grandmother didn't have much time left. Yet even on her worst days, she would hold Cora's hand and say, with all the love in the world, "Don't worry, dear. Grandma's fine." Cora never left her side, hounding the doctors, trying every possible treatment, fighting for one last sliver of hope. 2 weeks later, her grandmother passed away. Cora sat with her body through the night, crying until she had no tears left. Her last family member was gone. She leaned over the bed, her voice a broken whisper. "Grandma, don't go too far. I'll be with you soon." With her grandmother gone, she had no more ties to this world. Rather than live as Nathaniel's prisoner for the rest of her life, it was better to just end it. She was utterly alone now. She had planned to take her own life in her hometown after the funeral. But then the unthinkable happened. She was pregnant. She had fainted from grief and exhaustion. At the hospital, a routine blood test revealed she was 20 days along. Cora lay stunned in the hospital bed, her hand drifting unconsciously to her flat stomach. At this moment, of all moments, she was pregnant. With a child, what would happen to her plan? She kept the pregnancy a secret. After the funeral, the 2 bodyguards immediately took her back to the estate. She walked through the front door like a ghost, shocked to see Nathaniel in the living room. Wasn't he supposed to be on his honeymoon with Lydia? What was he doing back? "Are you that happy to see me?" "You're frozen stiff," Nathaniel said, closing his laptop. He seemed to be in a surprisingly good mood. He beckoned to her. "Come here." Cora moved toward him automatically, letting him pull her into his lap. "You've lost weight," he said, frowning. "Why are you back so soon?" she asked, dazed. "Business at the office?" His words were lost as his mouth found hers in a searing kiss. Cora, still reeling from the loss of her grandmother, had no desire for this. She pushed him away, hard. Nathaniel's face instantly clouded over. "A few days out of my sight and you've grown bold again, have you, Cora? Aren't you married now?" she said, scrambling away from him. "Go find Lydia. I don't want to do this with you right now." His expression turned ugly, anger flashing in his eyes. Cora gritted her teeth and decided to tell him. "Besides, I'm already preg." A shrill ringtone cut her off. Nathaniel pulled away from her, answering his phone. "Lydia, what, you've been kidnapped?" Chapter 15, What are you to me? Lydia kidnapped again? Cora was stunned for a moment, then she almost laughed. The same trick twice in a row? Didn't she ever get tired of it? "I'm on my way," Nathaniel hung up, his eyes locking on Cora, cold and deadly. A chill ran down her spine. "I didn't touch her," she said immediately. "I just got back from upstate. I know you didn't touch her." Leo Vance did, he snarled. "He says he'll release Lydia, but only if I give you back to him." Cora froze. Her first thought wasn't joy at her impending freedom, but a nervous glance at Nathaniel. "So, what will you do?" "Of course I'm going to save Lydia." He stood up, radiating a dangerous, palpable fury. "What are you to me? You're not worth a single hair on her head." The fragile tension that had held Cora together snapped. She let out a bitter laugh, unable to form a reply. "You must be thrilled, aren't you, Cora?" Nathaniel said cruelly. "You'll be back with your beloved Leo soon enough." "Yes," she said, her voice hoarse. "I'm ecstatic. Every single second I've spent with you has been utterly nauseating." Nathaniel's pupils constricted. He seemed to freeze in place. "Good for you, Cora. That's just great," he said, actually taking a step back. "If Lydia wasn't waiting for me, I'd kill you right now." Cora turned her head away, her lips pressed into a thin line. Nathaniel took a deep, steadying breath. He grabbed her by the wrist and dragged her out the door, straight to the exchange point the kidnappers had demanded. It was an abandoned construction site. Several men in black ski masks were holding a disheveled, weeping Lydia. Cora scanned the area but didn't see Leo anywhere. A strange, uneasy feeling crept over her. What if the person behind this wasn't Leo at all? "I brought the woman. Now give me back Lydia," Nathaniel said, shoving Cora forward as if she were a piece of disposable equipment. "Very cooperative," the lead kidnapper said. "Now what about our money?" Nathaniel waved his hand. His assistant stepped forward with a briefcase filled with stacks of cash. "Excellent. Have Miss Cora bring the money over. We'll release Miss Sterling at the same time." "Fine." Nathaniel had the briefcase thrust into Cora's hands. "Don't try any tricks," he warned her, his voice cold. "If anything happens to Lydia, I'll hold you personally responsible." Cora's face was chalk white. "Nathaniel, what if I told you I was pregnant? Would you still trade me for her?" His brow furrowed. "When did you get pregnant? Why didn't you say anything before?" Cora was speechless. He answered for her, his voice dripping with disgust. "Are you playing games again, Cora? I told you, Lydia is 1,000 times more important than you, so what if you're pregnant? You're still just a toy for my amusement." She closed her eyes in despair. "I was a fool to even ask." She gripped the briefcase and walked toward the kidnappers without another moment's hesitation. Whether this was Lydia's plot or not, she had no other choice. The kidnappers released Lydia, who walked towards Nathaniel. As they passed each other, Cora saw the triumphant smirk on Lydia's face. "Nate," Lydia was back in Nathaniel's arms, the two of them clinging to each other. And Cora was seized by the kidnappers, her wrists bound and thrown into the back of a van. The doors slammed shut. The engine roared to life. The kidnapper ripped the briefcase from her hands, counted the money with satisfaction, and then pulled out a sharp, 6-inch dagger. "Sorry, Miss Cora, someone paid a lot of money for your life," he said. Then he plunged the dagger deep into her abdomen. Crimson bloomed, hot and fast. A tremor ran through her body. She tried to speak, to ask if it was Lydia who had ordered her death, but the wound was too deep. The gushing blood was draining the life from her. She couldn't utter another word before the world went black. Chapter 16. Nothing but a pool of blood the moment Nathaniel had Lydia safely in his arms. He ordered his men to pursue the van that had taken Cora. Lydia clung to him, her voice a pathetic whimper. "Nate, please just let them go. I'm scared they'll come after me again." Nathaniel patted her back distractedly. "Don't worry, I'm here now, they won't dare." He turned to his assistant, his face grim. "Didn't you hear me? Get after that van now?" "Yes, sir." "Nate," Lydia started to cry again. "Please, I'm begging you, just give up on Cora. Can't we just let this be over? We can have a normal life together." Nathaniel's fingers tightened. "Cora is pregnant," he said, his voice clipped. "I need that child. You wanted a child, didn't you? She can give us one." Lydia froze, a flash of venom in her eyes. "Are you sure? What if she's lying?" "Whether she is or not, I'm getting her back to find out for sure," he said, gently pushing her towards a car. "You go home and rest, I'll find her." Lydia grabbed his arm, refusing to let go. "No, Nate, I want you to stay with me." He pulled his hand free. "I'll be back later." He shut the car door on her protests and left, following the direction Cora's van had gone. Lydia sat in the car, watching him go, her nails digging into her palms. She knew it. Nathaniel had developed feelings for Cora. But it was too late. Thanks to her, Cora was about to be a corpse, no longer a rival for her man. Her only nagging concern was that she still didn't have a marriage certificate. Last time at the courthouse, just as they were about to sign, Nathaniel had been called away on urgent business. Since then, he'd made excuse after excuse. He'd even agreed to a month-long trip to make up for it. Lydia had assumed that alone together, something would happen, but he'd barely even held her hand, let alone kissed her. The honeymoon had been cut short by yet another work emergency. It was all Cora's fault. That bitch had stolen his attention. If it weren't for her, Lydia would be Mrs. Thorne by now. Well, she was dead now. She deserved it. After an hour-long chase, Nathaniel's men found the abandoned van on a dirt road in a rundown rural town. The van was empty, save for a massive, still wet bloodstain on the back seat. The sight of it made the world go black for a moment. Nathaniel staggered, his mind a complete blank. His assistant steadied him. "Sir, this area is a dead zone for surveillance. It will take time to track where the kidnappers and Miss Cora went from here." Nathaniel closed his eyes. After a long moment, he managed to speak, his voice a ragged whisper. "Get a sample of that blood. I want it tested. I want to know whose it is." "Yes, sir." As the assistant gave the order, another report came in. He listened, his face paling. He approached Nathaniel hesitantly. "Sir, we've just located Leo Vance." "Where is he?" Nathaniel demanded. "He's in Germany, receiving specialized treatment for his right hand. He's been there ever since the injury. He never returned to the U.S." Nathaniel just stared, the information not computing. The assistant pressed on. "Sir, I think there's something wrong with this kidnapping. Were they really trying to rescue Miss Cora?" Nathaniel stared at the sickening crimson stain on the seat. His hands clenched into fists so tight that blood began to seep from between his knuckles. Chapter 17. Her body was found after a long, tense silence. Nathaniel's voice emerged, hoarse and raw. Double the manpower. I want you to find Cora. I don't care if you have to tear this state apart, you bring her back to me. Before they had any news of Cora's whereabouts, the results from the blood test came back. It was a match for Cora. The lab work also confirmed she was pregnant. 20 days. Nathaniel stared at the report, his face a mask of grim fury. His assistant sighed. Sir, given the amount of blood in the van, Miss Cora's blood loss must have been extreme, and we still don't know her condition. Nathaniel crumpled the report in his fist. Keep looking, I don't care what it costs. Find her. I want to see her alive, and if not, I want to see her body. Yes, sir. The search parties combed a multi-mile radius around the abandoned van, going door to door with Cora's photo. 3 days later, they found one of the kidnappers in the woods. He had a stab wound in his abdomen and was on the brink of death. They rushed him to the hospital, and after a night of surgery, his life was saved. Nathaniel waited by his bedside. The moment the man's eyes fluttered open, he leaned in. Where is Cora? The kidnapper's mouth moved weakly, repeating 3 slurred, indistinct words. Nathaniel leaned closer to make them out. Lydia, Sterling. That was what he kept saying. I asked you where Cora is, Nathaniel exploded, grabbing the man by his hospital gown. Stop wasting my time, I just want to know where she is, the kidnapper gasped for air, his eyes rolled back and he passed out. Sir, calm down, his assistant urged, pulling him back. He's our only lead if he dies. We'll never find Miss Cora. Nathaniel's eyes were bloodshot. He threw the man back onto the bed. Get the doctors in here now. I don't care what it takes. You keep him alive. The assistant rushed to carry out the order. Nathaniel sank onto the sofa, pressing his fingers to his temples. Cora was injured and missing. He didn't dare let his mind go to the worst-case scenario. The longer this dragged on, the worse her chances were. The quiet click of heels echoed in the room. It was Lydia. Nate, she said, sitting beside him. Are you okay? He didn't look at her. What are you doing here? I heard you found a major lead, so I came to see how things were going. Her eyes flicked to the unconscious man in the bed, a murderous glint in their depths. Nathaniel's mind stirred. He remembered the name the man had been repeating. A terrible suspicion began to form, one he didn't want to entertain. Things are a mess right now, he said, finally lowering his hands. You should rest at home where it's safe. I'll have someone drive you. What about you? Lydia pressed. You look exhausted. Why don't you come home with me and rest? I have things to deal with at the office. I'm heading there now. After seeing Lydia into her car, Nathaniel got into another and drove off in the direction of his office. Lydia watched his car disappear, her eyes glinting with murderous intent. She pulled out her phone and quickly typed a message. She had hired those kidnappers, and she had hired the men to kill them. She hadn't expected there to be a survivor. But from the looks of him, he was barely hanging on. He probably hadn't given up her name or the location of Cora's body. She still had time to clean up the mess. After sending the message, Lydia leaned back, a pleased smile on her face. In his own car, Nathaniel was giving a different order: to place the kidnapper's room under constant surveillance. That night, his men caught a doctor sneaking into the room, about to inject a syringe of potassium chloride into the kidnapper's IV line. Nathaniel rushed to the hospital to interrogate the doctor himself. After a brutal, late-night session, the doctor finally broke. I'll tell you the truth, he sobbed, his face bruised and swollen. It was Lydia Sterling. She sent me here to kill him. Chapter 18. It was all a lie. Nathaniel's face hardened into a mask of cold fury. He stared at the doctor, his voice trembling almost imperceptibly. What did you say? I said I was acting under Lydia Sterling's orders to kill that man, the doctor stammered, shaking with fear. Explain, Nathaniel said, his voice dangerously low. I don't know why she wanted him dead. She just promised me a huge payment if I did it. I was greedy, I swear. I don't know anything else, the doctor wailed. Please, "Don't kill me." Nathaniel gave a slight nod. His assistant understood immediately, stepping forward to drag the doctor away. Nathaniel steepled his fingers, staring into the middle distance, his expression unreadable. He'd suspected something was wrong, but to hear confirmation that Lydia was capable of this, it was a shock. When had the sweet, innocent girl he'd grown up with become so ruthless? He had a feeling that if he kept digging, everything he thought he knew would be shattered. But he had to. The image of the blood-soaked van flashed in his mind, and his breath caught in his throat. It felt like an invisible hand was squeezing his windpipe, choking him. That was Cora's blood. After losing that much, could she possibly still be alive? He gasped for air, his face a mask of anguish. His assistant placed a glass of water in his hand. "Sir, please don't despair. I have my best people on it." Nathaniel downed the water in one gulp. "So much blood," he murmured. The assistant stood by, unsure what to say. "Miss Cora will be all right," he said, the words feeling hollow. Miss Cora. Such a formal title. What should she be called? Mrs. Thorne? Right, but they were divorced. She wasn't Mrs. Thorne anymore. Nathaniel stared blankly, a low, humorless laugh escaping his lips. The assistant flinched, then schooled his features into a mask of professional calm, though a flicker of pity crossed his eyes. The night dragged on. Finally, just before dawn, an investigator returned with a thick pile of documents. "Sir, this is everything we found from the doctor's records, plus new leads on the other kidnappers," he said, handing over the file. "I'm sorry, we still haven't located Miss Cora, but we have a team narrowing the search." Nathaniel pushed down the rising panic and began to read. The investigator explained, "Leo Vance was in Germany for treatment, so he couldn't have been involved. But we found that just before the kidnapping, the kidnappers had multiple calls with Miss Sterling. They used burner phones, but we were able to trace the timing and location of the calls to match the events. The other kidnappers we apprehended were part of a hired crew. They didn't know each other. Miss Sterling contacted each of them personally. According to them, the plan was to frame Leo Vance and get rid of Miss Cora. The moment Miss Sterling was rescued, Miss Cora was to be dealt with in the van." He trailed off, seeing Nathaniel's expression. "Furthermore," he continued, "we investigated the first kidnapping. It was also staged by Miss Sterling. We learned that, although she claimed the child was yours, you were incapacitated that night. She arranged to be with another man to conceive. Here are the hotel records and the man's testimony. The miscarriage was self-induced with pills to frame Miss Cora. The kidnappers were hired actors. Miss Cora was lured to the factory under the pretense of finalizing her resignation. The investigator fell silent, awaiting orders. The silence in the room was absolute. Nathaniel stared at the documents, his world crumbling. He didn't want to believe it, but the cold, hard proof was in his hands. Everything he had seen, everything he had heard, everything he had believed, it was all a lie. Chapter 19. Heart of ash, a gaping hole opened in his chest, and an icy wind howled through it. Because Cora had used leverage to marry him, he'd viewed her through a lens of suspicion. Any time Lydia was hurt, his immediate, furious assumption was that Cora was behind it. He thought Cora was just a jealous, vengeful woman. He never imagined that a woman's heart could be so much more venomous than he'd thought, just not Cora's. He read through the file again, not daring to miss a single word. He couldn't accept that Lydia, the girl he had grown up with, had become this monster. "Sir, the kidnapper is awake," an assistant said, knocking on the door. "I'm coming." Nathaniel closed the file and composed himself, walking out. In the hospital room, the kidnapper looked at him with pale, fearful eyes. "I saved your life, so I won't let you die. Now tell me about Lydia Sterling," Nathaniel said, his voice cold. The man flinched but began to speak. "Lydia Sterling came to us. She said she needed us to act in a play. Said some woman was threatening her and her unborn child, and she had to strike first. We were just in it for the money. She said she was pregnant, being threatened, and the pay was good. She told us to blame some doctor and we'd get away with it, so we agreed. When we got to the factory, we saw her punching her own stomach, doing everything she could to hurt herself. Then she collapsed in the corner, all pale, and said it was done. We were shocked. We knew something was wrong, but we'd already taken the money. She said if we killed the other woman, she'd double our pay. So he trailed off. But we didn't hit anything vital. I think she could have survived. He wouldn't meet Nathaniel's gaze. Afterward, we didn't get our money. We got another crew sent by her to kill us. All my buddies are dead. I was lucky to escape. Then you found me. After hearing the full story, Nathaniel's heart turned to ash. There was no room left for doubt. The girl he had treated like a cherished sister had become a stranger. To orchestrate such a scheme, to willingly destroy her own unborn child, the cruelty was unthinkable. And he, for this person, had relentlessly tortured Cora. His heart felt like it was being pierced by 1,000 needles. It was a long time before he could speak. I understand. You can recover here. Lydia Sterling won't bother you again, but you still participated in a crime. You will have to pay for that. The kidnapper seemed resigned. Of course. I'm grateful you saved my life. I'll accept any punishment. Nathaniel stood up. Get Lydia Sterling, he ordered his assistant, his voice colder than ice. Half an hour later, the assistant returned alone, holding a USB drive. I'm sorry, sir. We couldn't find her. She left this for you. A dangerous aura emanated from Nathaniel. Let's see what's on it, the assistant said, his voice tight. It was a single video file. Lydia's face appeared on the screen. Don't bother looking for me, Nate. You'll never find me. She smiled, the same cunning, triumphant smile from their childhood games, but nothing was the same. Now that you know, I won't hide it anymore. Yes, I did all of it. But it was because I love you. In the next second, her tearful expression twisted into a mask of madness. And don't bother looking for Cora, either, she's dead. I had my second team dump her body in the ocean. Ha 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 ha, with Cora gone, nothing can stand between us anymore. The video ended, frozen on Lydia's grotesque, smiling face. Chapter 20, I won't spare a single one. The assistant held his breath, watching Nathaniel's rigid silence. After what felt like an eternity, Nathaniel spoke. Keep searching for Cora. Sir, the assistant asked, stunned, but she just said, I don't believe a word she says anymore, Nathaniel said coldly. I believe Cora is still alive. Didn't the kidnapper say they didn't hit a vital organ? The assistant swallowed his objections. Yes, sir. And find Lydia Sterling, Nathaniel added, his eyes glinting with a bone-chilling cold. I won't spare her. The moment Leo Vance stepped off the plane, he received the news from his staff. Cora was presumed dead. The world went black. He woke up in a hospital. His father stood over him, his face a mixture of anger and disappointment. You worthless boy, wasting away over some woman, you ruined your right hand for her. Do you know what that means for a surgeon? We let you follow your passion, we never forced you into the family business, and this is how you repay us. This is my son. Leo grasped his father's hand. I'll still be a surgeon, he said, his voice quiet but firm. Because I wanted to save her, but the family business, I'll take it over. His father stared at him, shocked. You've had a change of heart. You always wanted to make it on your own. Because it's the only way I'll have the power to stand against him, Leo said, his jaw clenched. I will not let the people who hurt Cora get away with it. His father sighed, the anger draining out of him. Son, you can't bring back the dead. I know, Leo said with a faint smile, swinging his legs out of bed. She's not dead. I'm going to find her. Leo, don't worry, father. I won't disappoint you, he said, bowing deeply before grabbing his jacket and walking out. Leo moved with a newfound, dangerous energy. He was a predator who had been starved for days. Unforgivable. Nathaniel Thorne and Lydia Sterling, he wouldn't spare a single one of them. To push Cora to that point, and she had loved that bastard. He walked into the lobby of Thorne Industries, his aura so intimidating that no one dared stop him as he headed straight for the executive elevator. Nathaniel's assistant immediately intercepted him. What do you think you're doing? Please leave or I'll have to call security. Leo smirked. I have something to discuss with your boss regarding Miss Cora. The assistant froze. Anything concerning Miss Cora was a top priority, but this man was a rival. Letting him in was risky. "Wait here, I'll inform him." A moment later, the assistant returned, his face grim. "You can go in." Leo smiled and entered the office. Nathaniel was thinner, his face pale, with dark circles under his eyes. "Mr. Thorne." "Long time no see," Leo said, his smile never reaching his eyes. "Get to the point. I'm not here to reminisce with you," Nathaniel replied, the sight of Leo still grating on him. This man and Cora, the thought of their closeness was like acid in his stomach. "But I am," Leo said, settling into a sofa. "I'm not feeling great now that Cora's missing. I thought I'd find someone to share the misery with." "No need. I've already investigated. Lydia Sterling will pay." Leo's eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly recovered, his smile returning. "I'm here to talk about Cora. You know she had a miscarriage for you?" "I know. During the kidnapping," Nathaniel's brow furrowed. No, Leo said, a cruel glint in his eyes. "Before that, there was another one." Chapter 21, There Are No Ifs What? Nathaniel's head snapped up, his eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Leo's smile was cold. "Right after she gave you the divorce papers, when she was planning to leave the country. She found out she was pregnant, with your child. She didn't even know at first. She thought she was just sick. She was on her way to the hospital for a checkup when you remember what you did, don't you?" The memory hit Nathaniel like a physical blow. The parking garage, his rage, her futile resistance. "No wonder you were so eager to sign. You had a replacement waiting, you pathetic slut." "Yes. I lived to humiliate you. Watching you squirm? Lydia's pregnant. It's time for you to vacate the position you stole." He had brutalized her with his words and his hands. He remembered her tears, her pale face. He dismissed it all as just another one of her manipulative games. He closed his eyes, unable to bear the memory. "You remember, don't you?" Leo's voice was merciless. "You personally destroyed your own child. The doctor said that miscarriage could have left her infertile, that she needed to rest and recover. But what did she do? She was out of the hospital in 2 days, desperate to finalize her resignation. That's how badly she wanted to get away from you, Nathaniel, and then you ran into her, you and your precious Lydia, all lovey-dovey. Did you ever once stop to think how much pain she was in?" Nathaniel's head felt like it was going to split open. Every part of him ached with a pain so profound he couldn't even locate its source. Leo stood up, looking down at him as if he were an insect. "You know, right now, I almost hope Cora really is gone. It would be a mercy. Better than being alive, trapped in the games you and your woman play." "Shut up," Nathaniel snarled, his eyes red with fury. "But of course, I have a feeling she's not dead. A monster like you is still walking the earth, so a good person like her will definitely outlive you," Leo said, his voice dripping with contempt. "So do us all a favor. Stay away from her." With that, Leo turned and left. His mission was accomplished. He wanted Nathaniel to suffer, preferably for the rest of his life. The assistant watched, stunned, as Leo left unscathed. A few moments later, the sounds of destruction erupted from the CEO's office. He could hear things shattering. He shivered. How much rage did it take to make that much noise? After a long time, the sound stopped. The intercom buzzed. It was Nathaniel's voice, weary and broken. "Send someone in to clean this up." When the cleaning crew entered, Nathaniel was sitting alone amidst the wreckage, a shell of a man. "Sir?" the assistant began, cautiously. "Let them clean." "I'm going out for some air," Nathaniel said, stumbling to his feet and fleeing the office as if escaping a fire. Nathaniel stood on the roof, the wind whipping at his suit. He had always seen himself as the victim, the wronged party. But in the space of a few days, that entire reality had been obliterated. He was the villain, the one who had pushed Cora into the abyss. What had she done wrong? Yes, she'd used leverage to marry him. But in the end, hadn't he felt something for her too? He had been drawn to her, but his pride, his face, wouldn't let him admit it. He'd been hot and cold, kind one moment and cruel the next. He was the one who had poisoned their marriage from the start. If only he had put aside his damn pride, been a little kinder, kept his distance from Lydia, none of this would have happened. He laughed, a dry, self-mocking sound. From an objective point of view, he was the unforgivable one. He stared at the flawless blue sky. If only he could go back, but there are no ifs, and the world doesn't sell medicine for regret. Chapter 22, The Descent. In the months that followed, Nathaniel became a tyrant. The employees at Thorn Industries walked on eggshells, terrified of becoming the target of his unpredictable rage. By day, he was a ruthless workaholic, demanding perfection. By night, he was a ghost, haunting the city's most exclusive bars, drinking himself into oblivion. Women would approach him, drawn to his dark, brooding magnetism. He would let them get close, but at the last moment, he would shove them away, his face a mask of disgust, and storm out. Tonight was no different. He sat alone in a private room, a movie playing silently on a large screen, the table littered with empty bottles of Pappy Van Winkle. The ashtray overflowed. He took a long drag from his cigarette, the alcohol and nicotine a welcome anesthetic. Only in this state of decadent decay could he forget his guilt, forget Cora. It had been months, and there was still no sign of her. The search was like looking for a single grain of sand on a global beach. The helplessness, the gnawing fear was unbearable, but he refused to admit it. He clung to the belief that she was alive, that finding her was just a matter of time. He thought of her, and the pain in his chest returned, sharp and insistent. He grabbed another bottle and drank deeply. He'd tried, a few times, to go home with one of the women, but as they'd lean in, her face would blur and become Cora's. He'd reach out to touch her, but the cloying scent of their perfume would snap him back to reality, and the rage would consume him. He couldn't stand the sight of these cheap imitations. What kind of spell had she cast on him to make him suffer like this? He closed his eyes, and the world dissolved into darkness. Good. Another night survived. Another night he wouldn't have to lie awake, alone with his thoughts. Cold, so cold. The pressure was immense, crushing her from all sides. Water filled her mouth, her lungs. All she could see was darkness. Was this the ocean? The taste of blood and salt filled her senses. It hurt so much. Was she going to die here, alone and forgotten? Her baby, Cora's consciousness faded, then vanished into silence. The first thing she was aware of was the smell of herbal medicine, mixed with the scent of sun-dried laundry and the faint, briny tang of the sea. She could hear the gentle rhythm of waves on a shore, the distant shouts of fishermen. Something warm and heavy was covering her. The crushing cold and agonizing pain felt like a distant nightmare. A profound sense of peace settled over her. This place felt safe. Cora kept her eyes closed, letting her body slowly wake up. When she finally opened them, the room was unfamiliar. It was a simple house, made of weathered bamboo, a well-loved home. A pot of medicine simmered on a small stove, filling the air with its bitter fragrance. The room was small but cozy, warm. Someone kind had saved her. The thought warmed her, but then the memory of what came before returned, and her heart grew heavy. She was truly alone now. Her grandmother was gone, and her baby was gone too. The knife had gone in so deep, and then they'd thrown her into the sea. There was no way her child could have survived. Her body had been saved, but her spirit was dead. From now on, she would just be a walking corpse, but she wasn't ready to give up. She couldn't let Nathaniel and Lydia live happily ever after while she rotted away. She wanted revenge. But how? What power did she have against them? Her eyes burned with hatred. Chapter 23, The Baby Is Still Here. Cora stared at the bamboo ceiling, her mind filled with images of Nathaniel and Lydia. He had never trusted her. And because of his blindness, their lives had been destroyed. She had been wrong to love him, yes, but she had paid for that love with everything she had. Her children. Nathaniel had killed the first one. Lydia had killed the second. Her children were innocent. Those two were unforgivable. As she seethed, she shifted her stiff body, her hand moving to her stomach. She expected it to be flat, empty, but there was a slight, firm curve there. Have I gotten fat? How long had she been unconscious? The pain was gone, but now she was gaining weight. A strange warmth spread through her. These people, whoever they were, had treated a bloody stranger with such kindness. Just then, the door creaked open. A middle-aged woman with a kind, weathered face and a warm smile entered. When she saw Cora was awake, her eyes lit up. "Oh dear, you're awake," Cora managed a weak smile. "Ma'am, did you save me?" "That I did," the woman said, her voice gentle. "My husband and I were out fishing, and we found you in the water. You were covered in blood, scared us half to death. We brought you back, the doctor came, said you were still breathing, thank the heavens. It took a long time, but we pulled you through." She patted Cora's head. "How are you feeling? You've been asleep for 3 months. The doctor said once you woke up, the worst was over. We've been giving you broths and herbs to build up your strength. Oh, and here, feel your belly." The woman smiled mysteriously. "Ma'am, I am so grateful. I don't know how I can ever repay you," Cora said, her eyes welling with tears. "And please, don't tease me. I know you've been feeding me well, I've gotten fat." The woman laughed heartily. "Fat? Nonsense, you're a miracle child. A true miracle. The baby inside you is still safe and sound in your belly." "What?" Cora's eyes flew open. She frantically felt her stomach again, then her waist. It was true. Only her belly was slightly rounded. The rest of her was rail thin. "Ma'am, Cora was speechless. Tears of shock and overwhelming joy streamed down her face. The woman sighed and sat on the edge of the bed, stroking Cora's hair. It felt just like her grandmother's touch. The thought made Cora cry even harder. "Go on, let it all out," the woman said softly. "But after this, no more crying. It's not good for you or for the baby." She didn't press for details, her presence as vast and comforting as the ocean itself. Cora cried until she was empty, finally quieting in the woman's embrace. The woman smiled and brought her a bowl of medicine. "Here, drink this. From now on, you have to live well." Cora nodded, determined, and drank every last drop. "Ma'am," she said, "I want to tell you my story. You saved a stranger, weren't you afraid?" The woman sighed. "Of course we were scared, but you were a life. How could we not save you? And as the weeks passed, and no one came looking for trouble, and I saw how peaceful you were in your sleep, I knew you weren't a bad person. Just someone who had suffered a great deal." "I will repay your kindness," Cora said, her voice thick with emotion. "I know you will, but for now, just focus on getting strong. That's what's most important, isn't it?" The woman patted her hand. "When your body is healed, then you can do what you need to do." Chapter 24. You're not alone. Any more tears welled in Cora's eyes again. The woman quickly wiped them away. "Now, if they're bad memories, don't dwell on them. This is a new beginning for you. And no matter what, you're not alone anymore, are you?" The woman placed her hand over Cora's on her belly, her smile radiant. "You have this little one, and you have us." Cora smiled through her tears. "You remind me so much of my grandmother, but she's—" "Then from now on, I can be your family," the woman said, her voice full of love. "Now, no more tears. It's not good for the baby." The woman's mock stern tone made Cora laugh. Okay, no more crying. I'll go get the doctor to check on you. You rest," she said, tucking Cora's hand back under the covers. Cora watched her go, her own hand resting protectively on her belly, a genuine smile spreading across her face. Everything was going to be okay. "Sir, you need to take care of yourself." The assistant looked at Nathaniel's gaunt, pale face with concern. "Don't bother me unless it's about work or about Cora," Nathaniel said, not looking up from his desk. A cigarette smoldered between his fingers. "I'm sorry, sir. With no new lades, it's difficult to find her quickly. But please, while we wait, take care of your health. I'm sure Miss Cora would want to see you healthy." "She'd want to see me healthy." He scoffed. "She'd want to see me in hell, and she'd be right. That's where I belong." "Sir, please don't say that. You were deceived. If you show Miss Cora your sincerity, I'm sure she'll forgive you." "Oh yeah? Then find her." "How am I supposed to atone? How am I supposed to treat her well when I don't even know where she is? And even if you do find her, what right do I have to even face her?" The assistant sighed quietly. "I'm monitoring the search 24/7. The moment we have a lead, you'll be the first to know." He excused himself, leaving Nathaniel alone in his office, lost in a fog of despair. 3 months had passed, 3 months that felt like 3 centuries. Every day was a struggle, every night a blur of alcohol. The endless, hopeless searching was driving him mad. He just needed a sign, just a sign that she was still alive. A fishing net was cast, revealing Cora's smiling face. "Honestly, you can't sit still, can you?" The woman whom Cora now called Aunt May said with a loving sigh. "You should be resting." Her husband, Uncle Ben, chuckled. "Let her be, May. Cora, come on, take a break. You already do more than enough cooking and cleaning for us." "It's the least I can do," Cora said, her smile bright. "How about steamed fish for dinner tonight?" "Sounds wonderful. Anything you make is wonderful," Uncle Ben said. "Whoever marries you will be the luckiest man alive." "Oh, stop teasing me," Cora said, laughing as she headed to the kitchen. She placed a hand on her belly, her smile softening. "We're so lucky, aren't we, little one? This place, these people, they've taught me so much. We have to look forward, always forward." Cora's body had healed, and her spirit was healing too. The old couple treated her like the daughter they never had. Living by the sea, surrounded by the simple kindness of the small fishing village, her heart had found a peace she'd never known. She could almost imagine spending the rest of her life here, in this small paradise. But she knew. You can't run from your past forever. Sooner or later, it always finds you. Chapter 25. A glimmer of hope another night survived on alcohol. Nathaniel rubbed his throbbing temples. He had just sat down at his desk when his assistant burst in without knocking. "Sir," he gasped, rushing to the desk, out of breath. "What is it?" Nathaniel asked, annoyed. "Did that new merger fall through?" "Sir, we've found a lead," the assistant exclaimed. "That stretch of ocean, where Miss Cora was thrown, it's right next to several fishing villages, and it was peak fishing season. It's highly likely she was rescued by a fisherman." Nathaniel shot to his feet, his eyes blazing. "Then what are you waiting for? Narrow the search, double the teams, find her." "Yes." The assistant scrambled out of the room. Nathaniel took a deep, shuddering breath. His hands were shaking. He gripped the edge of his desk to steady them, a wild, desperate hope igniting in his chest. He knew it. He knew she wasn't dead. That evening, Cora and Aunt May sat in a pavilion by the sea after their walk. "This little one is so well behaved. He's not giving you any trouble at all," Aunt May said, smiling at Cora's belly. "He's a good boy," Cora said, her voice soft. "He's a gift." "The father, was it forced?" May asked gently. "Yes and no," Cora said with a sad smile. "A long time ago, I loved his father very much. Before this one, I was pregnant once before, but I lost that baby." May took her hand, offering silent comfort. Looking into the older woman's kind eyes, Cora found the courage to tell her everything. The whole story, from the moment she fell in love, to the moment she was left for dead in the ocean. She held nothing back. May listened patiently, her expression never changing. "I thought I was going to die in that ocean," Cora finished, her eyes wet. "But you found me. You gave me a second chance. I truly don't know how to repay you." May pulled her into a tight hug. "You've suffered so much, child," she whispered, her own voice thick with emotion. "After you've healed, are you going to seek revenge?" "I used to think so," Cora admitted. "But not anymore. I can't win against them. And besides, I have a reason to live now. I have my baby, and I have you and Uncle Ben. I'm not going to throw away my future for people like them." May smiled, relieved. "You're a good, kind girl. And I promise you, we will always protect you." Cora leaned into her embrace, feeling safe and loved. The sky was full of stars, the waves were a gentle lullaby. For the first time in a long time, everything felt right. After Cora's disappearance, Leo Vance had transformed. The gentle doctor was gone, replaced by the cold, calculating heir to his family's corporate empire. He immediately deployed his family's vast resources to find Cora. While Nathaniel was still conducting a wide, scattershot search, Leo had already narrowed his focus to the coastal region. "Mr. Vance, we've narrowed the final location to this fishing village," his lead investigator reported. "Based on tidal patterns and fishing logs from that day, if Miss Cora is anywhere, she's here. She was likely rescued by one of the local families." Leo took the file. "What's Thorne's status?" "They're also searching the coastal area, but we're a step ahead." "Good, pack our things. We're leaving immediately." Leo stared at the file, a flicker of hope in his eyes. He knew it. Cora was here, and this time he would be the one to find her first. Chapter 26. It's you stepping off the boat. Leo took in the small, rustic village. Fishermen mended their nets by the shore. The air was clean, the atmosphere peaceful. He felt a sense of relief. According to the logs, only 2 families were at sea that day, his assistant said. The Lees at the village entrance and the Wangs to the east. Leo nodded. An instinct, a gut feeling, told him to go to the Lees. He looked toward the small house at the entrance, a slow smile spreading across his face. A psychic connection, perhaps. Cora was there. He was sure of it. "We're going to the Lees," he said. Cora was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, when a strange sense of unease washed over her. She heard Aunt May's voice from the front yard, sounding unusually flustered. "Who are you looking for?" A young woman. No, we haven't seen anyone like that here." Cora's heart dropped. Had Nathaniel found her? She crept to the door, listening. A man's voice, low and indistinct. She couldn't tell who it was. "Really, there's no young woman here," Aunt May insisted. "It's just me and my husband. We never had any children." Cora bit her lip, her mind racing. If it was Nathaniel, he would surely search the house. She couldn't let Aunt May get into trouble for her sake. She placed a hand on her belly. "You'll support me, right, little one?" Drawing strength from her unborn child, she took a deep breath and threw open the door. She walked out, her chin held high, ready to face her demon, and came face to face with Leo Vance. Aunt May turned, her face panicked. "What are you doing out here?" "Get back inside." The moment Cora saw Leo, her eyes filled with tears. She took Aunt May's arm. "It's okay, Aunt May. He's a friend. He's not the other one." Seeing Cora relax, and seeing the undisguised relief and affection in the man's eyes, Aunt May lowered her guard. "Well, if he's a friend, I'll leave you 2 to talk." Leo bowed deeply to her. "Thank you, ma'am, for saving Cora. I will repay your kindness." Aunt May just waved her hand and smiled, disappearing back into the house. Leo's assistant discreetly stepped away, leaving them alone. "How did you find me?" Cora asked, her voice thick with emotion. "Everyone must think I'm dead." "Never say that word," Leo said softly, smoothing a stray piece of hair from her face. "Where there's a will, there's a way." "Your hand, is it okay?" she asked, looking at the glove he wore. "It's not as nimble as it once was, but it's functional," he said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "I'm so glad it was you who found me first," she said, a wave of relief washing over her. "I assume Nathaniel thinks I'm dead?" "No," Leo said, his expression turning serious. "He's looking for you too. He's getting close. We need to leave quickly." "What does he want, to drag me back to that hell?" she asked, a flash of the old anger returning. "He won't," Leo said, reaching for her hand. "Not while I'm here. Will you come with me?" "But Aunt May and Uncle Ben," she hesitated. "I'm afraid he'll cause trouble for them, and I haven't repaid them." "He doesn't know you're here with them. The fastest way to protect them is to leave before he finds you. As for repaying them, I'll help you with that." "But your belly," Leo said, his gaze dropping to her rounded stomach. Cora sighed. "It's his, but this child, he fought to stay with me. No matter what, I'm going to have him. He's my son." A complex emotion flickered in Leo's eyes. Chapter 27. She's alive. Aunt May and Uncle Ben were heartbroken, but understood. They packed bags of local dried fish and fruits, fussing over Cora and Leo like they were sending off their own daughter. "Now, no crying," Aunt May said, holding Cora tight. "You promised." Cora hugged her back, her eyes burning. This was the first real warmth she'd known since her world fell apart. "I'll come back to visit," Cora promised. "I'll never forget what you did for me." "Go on now," Aunt May said, her own eyes glistening. "Be happy. That young man, he's a good one. I can tell he's true to you." She pushed Cora gently towards the boat. As it pulled away from the shore, Cora watched the old couple waving until they were just 2 small dots on the horizon. Leo placed a jacket over her shoulders. "It's cold on the water." Cora pulled the jacket tighter, avoiding his gaze. He was her friend, her savior, but that was all he could be. She was damaged goods, carrying another man's child. She couldn't let him waste his life on her. "Aren't you going to ask where I'm taking you?" Leo asked softly. As long as I'm with you, I know I'm safe, she said. It doesn't matter where we go. A warmth spread through Leo's chest. Yes, he said, I'll always protect you. 2 days after Cora left, Nathaniel arrived in the village. He went door to door himself, unwilling to delegate this final, desperate task. House after house, the answer was the same: no, we haven't seen her. Finally, he knocked on the Lee's door. A kind-faced woman answered. When she saw the photo on his tablet, her smile faltered for a fraction of a second before returning. But her answer was the same. No, sorry. This was his last hope. How could it be wrong? Someone was lying. A wave of cold fury washed over him, but he suppressed it. He asked the woman if he could look inside. She shook her head. Why are you looking for this girl? She asked, her gaze gentle but piercing. Because I did something wrong, Nathaniel found himself admitting. And you want to make amends? He nodded, feeling utterly defeated. I've been looking for her for a long time. And if you find her, what will you do? What would he do? He hesitated. I would do everything in my power to be good to her. The woman smiled faintly. It's not too late to change. She paused. Will you give up if you don't find her here? No, Nathaniel said, his voice firm. As long as I know she's alive, I'll never stop looking. The woman nodded. She is not here, she said, but I can tell you this. Your girl is alive. I am certain of it. Don't give up. The rest you must find on your own. Before he could ask more, she had closed the door. Nathaniel stood there for a long time before finally turning to leave. Let's go, he said to his assistant. She's not here. The assistant looked at him, confused, but for the first time in months, there was a glimmer of light in Nathaniel's eyes. At least I know, he said, a ghost of a smile on his lips. She's alive. Chapter 28. Self-deception, knowing Cora was alive, gave Nathaniel a renewed sense of purpose. He threw himself back into his work, a man possessed, while the search continued. He moved out of the grand estate and into the penthouse apartment where Cora had briefly lived. Her things were still there. Not many, but their presence was a comfort. This place was probably a prison in her memory, but for him, it was the only connection he had left. He slept in her bed, his face buried in her pillow, trying to inhale the last faint traces of her scent. It was a pathetic form of self-deception, pretending she was still there, but it was all he had. Cora, I told you, you can't escape. The voice in the darkness was deep, taunting. A hand shot out, grabbing for her. Cora bolted upright in bed, her heart hammering, her body trembling. That dream again, Nathaniel's voice. It had been so long, so many miles, yet he still haunted her sleep. She wiped the cold sweat from her forehead. Just then, the bedroom door creaked open. A small shadow darted inside. Cora tensed, then relaxed, a soft smile touching her lips. I felt Mommy was scared, the little shadow whispered, climbing into her bed and wrapping his arms around her. Cora switched on the bedside lamp. A small boy with wide, dark eyes looked up at her, his face a miniature, softer version of Nathaniel's. Mommy's fine, she said, hugging him tight. Mommy gets scared at night, the boy pouted. I should sleep with Mommy to protect her. Hope, you're a big boy now, you need to sleep in your own bed, she chided gently. But I'm only 4, he whined. I'm still a little boy. Cora couldn't resist. All right, just for tonight. Hope beamed, snuggling under the covers. Mommy, he asked, his voice sleepy, why do you cry in your sleep? Does someone bully you in your dreams? No, sweetie. No one's bullying Mommy, she said, stroking his hair. Go to sleep. I'll protect you, Mommy, he mumbled, drifting off. Good night. Good night, my Hope, she whispered, kissing his forehead. She lay awake for a long time, watching him sleep. He was her hope, her reason for living. She had nothing to be afraid of. She was far away from Nathaniel. With Leo and Hope by her side, she was safe. After all, it had been 5 years. He must have given up by now. Chapter 29. The CEO has a wife. The black town car pulled up to the curb. Nathaniel Thorne stepped out, the 5 years since his world fell apart having chiseled his features into an even colder, more commanding form. He was power personified. Good morning, Mr. Thorne. The rows of employees lining the entrance chanted. He gave a curt nod and strode towards the elevator. The moment he was gone, the palpable tension in the lobby dissipated, and the whispers began. "He's still so handsome. I thought this morning greeting would be a chore, but now it's the highlight of my day." "Right, and he's single, rich, handsome, and devoted to his work, the perfect man. I heard he has a wife, though." "No way. In all these years, have you ever seen a woman with him? Does a Mrs. Thorne ever show up at events, or even here?" "Well, I heard a rumor that he's, gay." "That makes more sense. He leaves work at 5 p.m. on the dot every day. The marketing head asked him where he was going once, and he just said home." The guy joked, "Is the wife keeping you on a tight leash?" And Mr. Thorne just smiled. A man with no woman in his life who is that devoted to home? It adds up. "No, my heart is broken, ahem." The women froze, turning to see Nathaniel's long-suffering personal assistant, Felix, glaring at them. "Is this what the company pays you for, to gossip about the CEO?" he said coldly. "If I hear this again, you're all fired." They mumbled apologies. Felix turned to leave, then stopped. "But you were right about one thing," he said, a strange note in his voice. "Mr. Thorne has a wife, and he loves her more than anything, so I suggest you forget any foolish ideas you might have." His phone rang, and he walked away, leaving the women speechless. Who was this mysterious woman who had captured the heart of the untouchable Nathaniel Thorne? "Good morning, Cora." Leo smiled as she came downstairs, holding Hope's hand. "Morning, Leo." For the past 5 years, they had lived together as a family. But Cora insisted on paying her share of the rent and splitting the chores. She couldn't let him sacrifice any more for her. Leo knew her heart was still wounded, closed off, but he was patient. Hope already called him Dad. He believed, in time, she would come around. "Did Hope sneak into your room again last night?" Leo asked, ruffling the boy's hair. "Mommy was crying again," Hope mumbled into his cereal. "Hope, eat your oatmeal," Cora said quickly. Leo's face filled with concern. "Cora, are you all right?" "I'm fine, just a bad dream," she said, forcing a smile. "You know we're here for you," Leo said, his eyes full of a love she couldn't return. "You're safe." "I know," she said softly. Chapter 30. There you are. Felix burst into Nathaniel's office, the same way he had 5 years ago when he'd first found a lead. "What is it?" Nathaniel asked, looking up from his work. "Sir, I just got a call. We found Miss Cora's location," Felix gasped, holding up his phone. "Our team has had her under surveillance for 3 days to confirm. The location has been sent to your email." Nathaniel's world stopped. He fumbled with his mouse, his hands shaking so badly he could barely click the right icon. Finally, the email opened. An address, a daily routine. After all these years, there she was. A slow, tremulous smile spread across his face. "You can run for 5 years, Cora, but you can't run forever." Cora walked to work, a strange feeling prickling at the back of her neck, the feeling of being watched. She scanned the street, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. It was probably just paranoia from her recent nightmares. Across the street, hidden in an alley, Nathaniel watched her disappear into her office building. He lit a cigarette, a faint smile on his lips. He had been here for 2 days, just watching her. He didn't know how to approach her. He was terrified of the fear and hatred he knew he would see in her eyes. He couldn't bear to see that look again. So for now, he just watched, a ghost from her past, trapped in a purgatory of his own making. That evening, the 3 of them went for a walk after dinner. Hope ran ahead, a bundle of boundless energy. "Cora," Leo began, his voice hesitant, "we've been living together for 5 years now." "I know," she said quickly, trying to head him off. "It's about time you found a nice girlfriend, Leo." "I have," he said, looking at her. "Cora, don't you think I'm sorry, Leo," she said, finally meeting his gaze. "We can't. I told you a long time ago. Why, I love you. And I love Hope. We're already a family." "No, we're friends," she said gently. "You deserve someone better, someone whole." "I only want you," he pleaded. "I can wait. I'll wait as long as it takes for you to heal." Cora took his hand. It was ice cold. "Leo," she said, her voice full of a sad, deep affection. "You're a wonderful man. Don't do this to yourself." She let go of his hand and walked on. In a car parked down the street, Nathaniel watched the entire exchange, his hand crushing the unlit cigarette in his fist. Leo Vance, Chapter 31, I finally found you. He had to do something. He couldn't just watch from the sidelines as Leo wore her down. He had to win her back. The next morning, Cora was walking to work, lost in thought, when she walked straight into a solid wall of a man. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she mumbled, trying to step around him. A hand shot out and grabbed her arm. She looked up and her blood ran cold. It was him, older, harder, but unmistakably Nathaniel. His severe features softened as he looked at her. "Cora," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I finally found you," the nightmare. The voice in the dark. It was real. She ripped her arm away, stumbling back. "I don't know you." "Cora, please," he said, stepping in front of her. "I'm sorry, I know everything that happened. I've been looking for you for 5 years. "Then you should have kept looking," she cried, her voice trembling. "If you were truly sorry, you would stay out of my life. I realized that I love you," he stammered, the words sounding foreign and clumsy on his tongue. "Don't say that," she cut him off, her voice sharp with panic. "I'm married now, to Leo." A shadow crossed his face. "I don't believe you." His intensity terrified her. It was the same look he used to give her right before he saw the fear in her eyes and immediately softened his expression. "Cora, I'm serious. I want to make things right." "But I don't want to see you," she said, her voice flat and cold. "Please just leave me alone." She dodged around him and ran, not stopping until she was safely inside her office, her heart pounding. Why? After all this time, why couldn't he just let her be? She reached for her phone to call Leo, then stopped. This was her problem. She couldn't keep dragging him into her messes. She had to handle this herself. She just had to be strong, make him see that there was nothing left between them, and he would eventually give up. She would never, ever go back to him. Chapter 32, I can't forgive you. Cora stayed late at work, hoping to avoid him. But as she walked home, she saw him leaning against a lamppost, wreathed in smoke. He saw her and immediately dropped his cigarette, walking towards her. "Cora, stay right there," she said, her voice shaking slightly. It was the first time she had ever given him an order. To her surprise, he stopped. "You said you know everything?" she asked. "Yes, Felix investigated everything. And Leo told me some things. I know I was wrong." "Where were you wrong?" I was proud and blind. I let Lydia manipulate me. I never trusted you. I took out my own insecurities on you. You were the innocent one, and he trailed off. "I've been looking for you for 5 years, Cora. I almost found you once, but Leo got to you first." He fell silent for a long moment. "From now on, I will be good to you. I know you don't believe me. But just let me show you," Cora sighed. "Nathaniel," she said, her voice weary, "I can't forgive you. You don't get to say I'm sorry and erase everything that happened. I know, I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking for a chance to atone. The best way for you to atone is to leave me alone," she said, her voice firm. "There's no future for us. You never loved me. Our entire marriage was a mistake, and I paid the price for it. It's over. But it wasn't a mistake for me," he said, his voice raw. "Not in the end. Cora, don't you think this is ridiculous?" she snapped. "You're a grown man. Go find someone else." "Why are you so obsessed with me?" He looked down, his shoulders slumping. "I just want to make it right. And I want to be good to you." "I don't need it," she said, turning to walk away. "This is the best ending for us. Goodbye, Nathaniel." "I'm not giving up, Cora," he called after her. "I'll make you see I'm serious." She didn't look back. As she walked away, he stepped out from the shadows and followed her home from a safe distance. Leo lets her walk home alone this late, he thought, a surge of protective anger mixing with the familiar acid of jealousy. Chapter 33. I'll never give up. Cora walked into a quiet, suburban neighborhood. Nathaniel followed, his heart twisting as he watched her approach a beautiful, modern house. This was where she lived, with him. He hid behind a row of hedges as she unlocked the front door. A moment later, Leo appeared, and a small boy ran out, throwing his arms around Cora's legs. A child? They had a child? The air left Nathaniel's lungs. He stared, frozen, as the happy little family disappeared inside. So, it was true. She hadn't just married Leo. She had built a life with him, a family. Maybe he should just leave, let her have her peace. The thought was a physical agony. He just couldn't. He forced himself to look again, just as the porch light illuminated the child's face. Wait, that boy, he looked just like him. A wild, impossible thought sparked in his mind. He pulled out his phone, his fingers flying across the screen. "Felix," he barked into the phone. "I need you to find out if Cora and Leo Vance are legally married. And I want everything you can find on that child. Now, if he was right, if that boy was his, then he would never, ever let her go." "Are you insane?" Cora hissed, trying to push past him. But Nathaniel stood his ground, a broad, triumphant smile on his face. He had the report, no marriage license. And the boy, Hope Thorne, born 9 months after she disappeared. His son, "I'm not going anywhere," he said, his eyes shining. "You lied to me, you're not married. And that boy, he's mine, isn't he?" Cora froze, her face pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." "This is my responsibility, Cora," he said, his voice softening. "Thank you for taking care of him. You've been through so much." "He is my child," she spat, her eyes flashing with a fierce, protective fire. "Don't you dare think you can come near him. Our child," he corrected gently, his smile unwavering. It was no use. She couldn't reason with him. She stalked off, and he followed, a happy, lovesick puppy, chattering away about plans for their son's future. Across the street, a woman watched them, her face hidden behind oversized sunglasses. She lowered them, her eyes filled with a venomous, jealous rage. "So you are alive, Cora." After all these years of hiding, she had finally found her. And just like before, she was wrapped around Nathaniel. She looked down at the file in her hands, photos of Cora and of Hope. This time, she would finish the job herself. In the days that followed, Nathaniel was relentless. He was everywhere she went. "Are you on drugs?" Cora finally exploded. "Did you not hear a word I said?" "You lied to me," he said cheerfully. "And that's my son, so I'm not giving up." "He's my son," she repeated, but her protest sounded weak even to her own ears. He just grinned. "Ours." She threw her hands up in exasperation and walked away. He happily trotted after her. Cora sat at her desk, her head in her hands. What was she going to do? Just as she was contemplating faking her own death again, her phone rang. A private number. "Hello, Cora speaking." "Cora." The voice was instantly recognizable, a venomous purr that sent a chill down her spine. "It's been a long time. How about we catch up?" Cora's hand tightened on the phone. "Lydia," Lydia laughed, a low, menacing sound. "Surprised, I was thinking we could meet, for old time's sake. After all, your son and I are having such a lovely time together." Chapter 34. Injured again, Cora ran, her lungs burning, until she reached the abandoned warehouse Lydia had specified. Before she could even catch her breath, she was grabbed from behind, her arms and legs bound and dragged inside. They tied her to a concrete pillar, the ropes biting into her skin. When her vision cleared, she saw Lydia standing before her, a smug, evil smile on her face. In the corner, tied to another pillar, was Hope, unconscious, his small face pale. "My son, what did you do to him?" Cora screamed, struggling against her bonds. "Don't worry," Lydia purred. "He's just had a little nap-time medicine. I'm not a complete monster. I wouldn't want him to see his mommy die." "Let him go, but I went to so much trouble to get him here," Lydia sighed. "First, I have to deal with you." She pulled a long, thin whip from a bucket of water. It was studded with metal barbs. "If you behave, maybe I'll let the boy go." Cora looked at the whip, then at her son. "This is what you wanted, isn't it? Just to torture me. Get on with it." "Oh, I will," Lydia said, her smile widening. "This whip has been soaking in salt and chilly water. It's going to be exquisite." Cora closed her eyes. The whip cracked through the air, and a line of fire seared across her back. She grunted, her body convulsing, but she refused to scream. "Come on, I want to hear you beg," Lydia taunted, striking her again, harder this time. Cora bit her lip until it bled, tears of agony streaming down her face, but she remained silent. Her silence only fueled Lydia's rage. Again and again, the whip fell. "I can't die," Cora thought, her consciousness fading. "I have to live, for Hope." but her body couldn't take any more. As the whip came down again, she finally passed out. "Oh, we're not done yet," Lydia cackled, dipping the whip back into the bucket. She raised her arm for another strike. Her wrist snapped. The whip clattered to the floor. She looked up, her eyes wide with shock, into the furious, burning gaze of Nathaniel Thorne. "Lydia," he growled, his voice a low, terrifying rumble. "I'm going to destroy you." He threw her across the room like a rag doll. She landed in a heap, screaming in pain. He didn't spare her another glance, rushing to Cora's side to untie her. His men untied Hope. In the chaos, Lydia scrambled to her feet and fled. "Sir, she's gone," an assistant reported. "It doesn't matter." "Find her later," Nathaniel said, his voice shaking as he gathered Cora's limp, bloody body into his arms. He ran from the warehouse, his heart pounding with a familiar, sickening terror. He had promised to protect her. And once again, he had let her get hurt. Chapter 35. "Please stay away, the boy is fine, just sedated. He'll wake up soon," the doctor said. The woman, however, is in serious condition. The wounds are deep, and the irritants in them will slow her recovery. "We've cleaned them, but you'll need to watch carefully for infection." "Thank you, doctor," Nathaniel said, his voice hollow. He sat by Cora's bedside, the mask of control crumbling away. He looked at her pale, still face, and a wave of guilt and self-loathing washed over him. He took her hand, pressing his face against their joined fingers. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I promised I would protect you, and I failed. Again, I'm so sorry." He stayed there all night, holding her hand, watching her breathe. For the next 5 days, Cora drifted in and out of consciousness, her body racked with fever. Nathaniel never left her side, tending to her every need, barely sleeping. On the 5th day, she finally opened her eyes. The evening sun cast a warm, golden glow across the room. She felt a weight on her hand and turned to see Nathaniel slumped in a chair beside her, asleep, his face etched with exhaustion. He looked terrible. His face was gaunt, his eyes bruised with fatigue, and he was holding her hand. He saved me, she thought, and then a jolt of panic. Hope she tried to sit up, pulling her hand free. The movement woke him instantly. "He's fine," Nathaniel said, his voice hoarse. "He's in the next room, playing. I have 3 men watching him." Cora relaxed, sinking back into the pillows. There was something she had to say, something that had to be done. "Nathaniel," she began, her voice weak. He looked at her, his eyes full of a desperate hope. "Please," she said, her voice pleading, "stay away from us. I can't live like this anymore. Every time I get hurt, it's because of you. Lydia will never stop as long as you're in my life. I'm begging you. Leave us alone. I don't care about revenge anymore. I don't care about the past. I just want my son to be safe. He's all I have. After the first miscarriage, I never thought I could have another child. He's my miracle. I can't lose him. Do you understand? As long as you are near me, we will never be safe." Tears streamed down her face. He had expected anger, recriminations, the silent treatment, but not this. Not her begging him to leave. It was true. Everything she said was true. He was a curse, a danger to the only person he had ever truly loved. How could he argue? How could he ask her to stay when his presence only brought her pain? He closed his eyes, his heart shattering. "Rest," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I'll go get the boy." Chapter 36. A necessary departure perhaps because of their striking resemblance, Hope took to Nathaniel immediately. While Cora recovered, the two of them became inseparable. Nathaniel would hold him for hours, telling him a heavily edited version of his and Cora's story. "Don't be sad, Uncle," Hope said one afternoon, patting Nathaniel's cheek. "Mommy says if you know you're wrong and you change, you're still a good boy." "Hope," Nathaniel began, wanting so badly to tell him the truth. "I'm your father," but the words wouldn't come. What kind of father was he? A father who had abandoned him for 5 years. A father who had repeatedly tortured his mother. He had no right. "Uncle, are you my daddy?" Hope asked, his head tilted. "The kids at school say daddies and mommies sleep in the same bed, but my daddy and mommy don't. And you and I look the same." "Do you want me to be your daddy?" Nathaniel asked, his voice trembling. Whoever Mommy likes, I like, Hope said with a sunny smile. Nathaniel looked down, a sad, self-mocking smile on his face. He brought Hope to Cora's room and watched them together, a perfect picture of mother and son. A picture he could never be a part of. He closed the door and stood guard outside, his heart aching. "Mr. Thorne," a nurse said, "Miss Cora's test results are in." He nodded and stood up to follow her. The world tilted, went black, and he collapsed. When he woke up, he was in a hospital bed. The door opened and a team of doctors walked in, their faces grim. "Mr. Thorne," the lead doctor said, "while you were unconscious, we ran some tests. We found a malignancy." Nathaniel stared at him. "What?" "It's lung cancer, but it's early stage. With aggressive treatment, the prognosis is good, but you have to stop smoking. Immediately." Lung cancer. All those years of stress, guilt, and self-destruction had caught up with him. This was his punishment, his penance. He deserved it. He just hadn't thought it would come so soon. He wasn't ready to leave her. But now he had to. He couldn't burden her with this. She deserved a happy, healthy life. Even if she would have him, he couldn't accept. He couldn't die and leave her alone again, and she would never have him anyway. His presence was a torment to her, so he would let her go. The pain in his chest was so sharp, so absolute, he thought he might die right then and there. When he walked into Cora's room, she tensed, her smile fading. "Uncle," Hope cried, running to him. Nathaniel smiled and knelt down, ruffling the boy's hair. "Hey, sport, can you go play with the nurses for a little while? I need to talk to your mommy." Cora looked like she wanted to protest, but when she met his eyes, she saw something in them that made her nod. Chapter 37. Let me look at you one last time. The room was silent. "What did you want to talk about?" Cora asked, not looking at him. He didn't answer. He just walked to her bedside and sat down, his hand hovering over hers before he let it fall away. "Are you feeling better?" "Yes. The doctor says I can go home soon." He reached out and gently cupped her face in his hands. She flinched but didn't pull away. He looked at her, his eyes memorizing every line, every curve. "Let me look at you one last time," he whispered. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice low and full of a pain that seemed to go on forever. "I was arrogant and cruel and I broke you, I know that. I want to spend the rest of my life atoning for it, but you're right. The only way to do that is to let you go." He let his hands drop. "I'll respect your wishes. We won't see each other again." Cora stared at him, stunned. This was what she wanted, so why did her heart feel like it was being squeezed in a vice? "Are you happy?" he asked, a sad smile on his face. "You're free now. No one will ever hurt you again." He stood up to leave. "Don't you have anything to say to me?" She looked at him, her mind a blank. "I wish you happiness," she said finally, the words feeling like ash in her mouth. Happiness. Without her, there was no happiness. He nodded, then leaned down and pressed a soft, fleeting kiss to her lips. She gasped, pulling back. "What was that for?" "A souvenir," he said, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Something to help me get through what's coming." He turned and walked away without another word. A final, silent goodbye. In the weeks that followed, Cora tried to return to her life. She moved out of Leo's house, gently but firmly telling him they could only ever be friends. She tried to be happy, to build a quiet, peaceful life for her and Hope. But she couldn't stop thinking about Nathaniel, about the look in his eyes that last day, about his last words. Something to help me get through what's coming. What was coming? An inexplicable sense of dread settled over her. She decided to take Hope on a trip, to clear her head, to forget. Chapter 38. My life, my fortune. Nathaniel was withering away. He sat by the window, watching the sunset, his body frail, his face a sickly gray. He was ready. He had lived without her for 5 years. He could die without her now. His only regret was that he would leave her unprotected. Felix, his assistant, came in, his face grim. "Sir," he began, but Nathaniel cut him off. "I know I'm dying," he said, his voice a weak rasp. "So, listen carefully. On November 11th, I want you to transfer all of my personal assets and my shares in Thorne Industries to Cora. It's her birthday. It's the last thing I can do for her." Felix's eyes filled with tears. "Sir, please." That's an order, Nathaniel said. I've also found Lydia, have her arrested, and find a good position for yourself. You've been a loyal friend. He coughed, a racking, painful sound. How is Cora? She and the young master are traveling, Felix said, his voice thick. They seem to be well. Good, Nathaniel whispered. Don't let her know about this. Don't disturb her. He closed his eyes, a faint smile on his lips. She was traveling, she was happy. That was all that mattered. Outside his room, a nurse in a surgical mask leaned against the wall, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Chapter 39. The final goodbye. When Cora and Hope returned from their trip, Felix was waiting for them at their apartment. He handed her a thick portfolio of documents. What is this? She asked, her heart pounding. Mr. Thorne's last will and testament, Felix said, his voice devoid of emotion. He has left everything to you. Happy birthday, Miss Cora. He turned and left before she could say a word. She stood in her living room, stunned, the documents heavy in her hand. Why? What was going on? A terrible, cold dread began to creep up her spine. That look in his eye. What's coming? She lived in a daze for the next few weeks, the world feeling unreal. And then, one day, as she was walking home from the grocery store, a woman blocked her path. A woman who looked haunted, broken, but unmistakably familiar. Cora, the woman said, her voice a raw whisper. It was Lydia. Chapter 40. Please, go see him. Cora's body went rigid. She instinctively tightened her grip on the bag of groceries as if it were a weapon. What do you want? She asked, her voice like ice. After all this, after everything she'd done, he had let her go free. So much for his apologies, his atonement. He was still protecting this monster. Please, Lydia said, her eyes red and swollen from crying. I need your help. She took a step forward. Stay back, Cora warned, her voice sharp. Say what you have to say from there. It's about Nate, Lydia whispered, her voice cracking. He's sick, he needs you. He has you, doesn't he? Cora scoffed. Isn't this your big chance to play the loving nurse? He won't see me, Lydia said, her voice full of despair. He's dying, Cora. The world seemed to tilt. What do you mean, dying? I just saw him a few weeks ago. He has lung cancer, Lydia sobbed. He's refusing treatment. He's trying to kill himself. He thinks it's the only way to pay you back. Please, Cora, I know you hate me. You have every right to. But please go see him. If he sees you, maybe he'll fight. I can't bear to watch him die. She dropped to her knees on the pavement, her face streaked with tears. Please, I'm begging you. After that, you and I can settle our score. But please just save him. Cora stared at her, her mind reeling. Lung cancer. Something to help me get through what's coming. It all clicked into place. The strange farewell. The will. It all made a terrible, horrifying sense. Where is he? She asked, her voice a choked whisper. Chapter 41. Without you, I'm already dead. She burst through the hospital room door, her heart hammering against her ribs. He was there, lying in bed, staring out the window. He was so thin, so pale. A ghost of the powerful, terrifying man he had once been. He heard her and turned his head, his eyes widening in shock. Cora, what are you? Go, you can't see me like this. He tried to pull the covers over his head, like a child. She strode to his bedside and pulled them down. Is this how you atone, Nathaniel? By hiding in a hospital bed and waiting to die? It's what I deserve, he whispered, not looking at her. And what about me? She cried, her voice breaking. You think I want your money, your company. I want you to live. You owe me that much. You coward, do you think I want to be a widow before I'm even a wife again? Do you think I want Hope to grow up without a father? He flinched, his eyes snapping to hers. You want to atone, she said, her voice softer now, her hands cupping his gaunt face. Then live and be a good man, be a good father. That's how you make it right. Without you, I'm already dead, he whispered, his voice raw with a pain that had nothing to do with the cancer. She leaned in, her forehead resting against his. Then I guess you'll just have to live, she said, because I'm not going anywhere. A single tear traced a path down his hollow cheek. You mean that? There are no guarantees, Nathaniel, she said, pulling back to look him in the eye. You hurt me, badly, but maybe, just maybe, if you fight like hell to live, I might just find it in my heart to forgive you. He stared at her, a flicker of the old fire returning to his eyes. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay." Chapter 42. The last gesture. From that day on, Cora became a fixture at the hospital. She and Felix took turns caring for Nathaniel, and she brought Hope to visit every day. With Cora by his side, Nathaniel began to fight. He endured the grueling treatments with a quiet strength, his eyes always following her around the room. They didn't talk about the past. They just lived in the present, one day at a time. And slowly, miraculously, he began to get better. His color returned. He gained weight. The laughter came more easily. He was still Nathaniel, but a softer, kinder version. A man remade by love and loss. One day, Lydia was found in her bathtub, having taken her own life. She left a single, short note for Nathaniel. It said only, "Be happy." He read it, then tore it into pieces, letting them fall into the trash like confetti. The seasons changed. A year passed, and then another. One sunny afternoon, Cora was at home, knitting, when the phone rang. It was the hospital. There had been a complication. Nathaniel had collapsed. He was gone. The world dissolved into a blur of tears and motion. She ran, her heart screaming, all the way to a place she had never been before, a beautiful, old chapel on the hospital grounds. The place where, the nurse on the phone had sobbed, they had taken his body. She pushed open the heavy oak doors, her eyes blinded by tears, expecting to see a coffin, a funeral arrangement. Instead, she saw him. He was standing at the altar, dressed in a black tuxedo, looking healthier and more handsome than he had in years. The chapel was filled with flowers, and with all their friends, Felix, Leo, the doctors and nurses who had cared for him, all smiling. "What is this?" she whispered, her hand flying to her mouth. "My last, desperate, stupidly romantic gesture," he said, walking towards her, his eyes shining. "My treatment ended a month ago, Cora. I'm cured." You lied to me," she gasped, half furious, half ecstatic. "I had to," he said, taking her hand. "How else was I going to get you to a chapel?" He dropped to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "Cora, you taught me how to live, you taught me how to love. I know I don't deserve you, but I will spend every day for the rest of my life trying to. Will you please, please marry me?" She looked at him, this man who had been her tormentor, her prisoner, and now her salvation. She looked at Hope, who was running towards them, beaming. She looked at the love shining in his eyes. And she laughed, a sound of pure, unadulterated joy. "You are the most infuriating man I have ever met," she said, pulling him to his feet. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her tight. "Is that a yes?" "That, Nathaniel Thorne," she said, kissing him, "is a you'd better not mess this up." He kissed her back, a promise of a lifetime, of a love that had been forged in fire and had, against all odds, survived.